Our MC is constantly down on his luck, scrubbing rocks all day long. Then, his angry boss would show up and slam the kid to the ground. But later on, he found a magic stone that caught his eye, and he gets wrecked all over again. And when he finally wins his freedom at last, he manages to unlock a power reserved only for nobles, ready to unleash absolute chaos. So, drop a like and comment to help the channel out. Among the many precious stones mined across this continent, some hide secrets of an ancient magic long forgotten by time. Rarely they carry an old magic that vanished ages ago. Those rare gems end up becoming the most coveted treasure in the entire world. While the upper crowd parties in pure luxury, the underground is boiling with a heavy tension nobody up there could ever imagine. Working non-stop, these people spend the whole day grinding through those rough stones at an exhausting pace. A sharp sound echoes through the whole place, signaling that the work shift is finally over. Stone in hand, the kid lets out a long sigh of relief for finally getting the job done. The supervisor storms in furious, grabs the boy by the hair, and yells that the work still isn't good enough. Tossing the pieces onto the table with total disregard, he grumbles that that trash job won't earn a single coin. Snatching the gem for himself, the supervisor dismisses the boy's work and treats everyone there like they're completely worthless. That object gleams in his hand as the supervisor demands a flawless polish no matter what it takes. Trying to yank the item from the kid's hand is pointless. The thing simply won't let go. Even under all that pressure, the boy refuses to release it and holds the gem with both hands in a desperate attempt to not lose it. Dry thuds echo as the supervisor goes all out, hurling the kid straight onto the stone floor. Bleeding from the corner of his mouth, the kid feels the full weight of the guard's complaints while trying to pull himself together. Wiping the blood from his face is the first step the kid takes to try and push through the sharp pain from the hit. That mocking expression on the boy's face sends the guard over the edge, who explodes and screams, saying he can't stand being looked at like that anymore. Laughing at the situation, the guard questions whether the kid thinks he's all that just because he learned how to polish those stones right. With brutal force, the guard lands a kick straight to the kid's face, dropping him to the ground without mercy. Without a shred of pity, the guard steps closer to teach the boy an unforgettable lesson. The foreman's hand grabs the kid by the hair to warn him he's going to have to polish everyone else's work too. Raising his fist with a smirk, the foreman warns that however many hits he takes will decide how much work he'll have to face after. Without any warning, a hard punch lands square in the kid's face. Another heavy blow sends the kid's head snapping sideways from the sheer force of the impact. With a sneer plastered on his face, the brute calls the kid an idiot and orders the rest of the slaves to drag themselves to bed right now. As the guards disappear into the darkness, the kid slowly rises from the far end of the cell. With a firm touch, the kid taps the overseer on the shoulder and points out that was only 3 hits. Surprised, the overseer turns to face the kid, who still demands 3 more hits before he'll walk away. That intense gleam gives away that he's keeping count of the deal they made, where every blow earns him the right to polish more pieces. Rattled by the sheer nerve of it, the overseer lets out a shout, tells the kid not to touch him, and shoves the boy away. Still pushing the idea, the kid quietly murmurs that he wants more of that punishment. Brushing off the whole scene, the kid moves forward hungry for more hits, leaving the supervisor completely frozen in disbelief. Without holding back, both guards team up to go after the kid while a witness watches everything up close. Panic written all over his face, the attacker lets out a desperate scream, telling the kid to back off right now. Another dry blow lands clean on the kid, sending him straight to the cold, damp floor. Beaten legs and a completely drained body leave the kid flat on the ground, no strength left to fight back. As the hours pass, daylight finally breaks through the silence of that isolated cell. Deep inside that dungeon, the light from outside starts drawing the shapes of the stone walls. Realizing the sun is already up, he figures he went way too far with the work. With a calm smile, the kid holds on to 3 colors in his mind: red, yellow, and indigo. That pale blue gem, with a dense glow burning deep inside, is something he's laying eyes on for the very first time. Feeling the weight of that precious stone, he stares at it with a fascination he can't quite hide. Eager to find other varieties, the boy can barely hold back the urge to polish it to absolute perfection. Eyes loaded with hatred emerge from the darkness out of nowhere, glaring at the kid with an overwhelming fury. The sharp clang of bars being struck echoes down the corridor, ordering everyone to hurry up and get to work. A weathered hand reaches out and touches the boy's face, asking if he can manage to stand up. Weak and drained, the boy simply nods, accepting the support being offered to him. That shift in attitude leaves the other prisoners puzzled and completely confused. On the way there, the kid reflects that ever since he arrived in that dark dungeon, nobody ever bothered to exchange a single word with him. Nobody ever wasted even a moment just to exchange a word with him. Turning to the elder seated beside him, the kid asks if he needs any help right now. Some foreman shows up without ceremony, shoving the kid against the workbench and demanding the job be done exactly the way he wants it. The threat of a serious beating hangs in the air if the boy gets caught slacking off or dozing during work. Completely ignoring the threats, the kid keeps a small smirk at the corner of his mouth, focused only on finishing his work quickly. Picks up a new stone in a deep purplish tone to get started on the job right away. With a spark of excitement in his eyes, the boy already pictures the final result of the piece, shaped with careful hands. Checking over the boy's work, the old man decides to open up and question the reason behind all that strange behavior the day before. Focused on the job, the kid tells the old man to cut it and stay on task. Not following the conversation at all, he looks at the man and shoots it straight, asking what the guy is even trying to say. That answer comes short, with him brushing it off by saying he just wants to make those stones shine like never before. Things this beautiful simply never existed in the alleys where he grew up. The boy recalls how brutal his childhood was, living out in the rain and fighting to survive like he was nothing more than a walking ghost. Being a slave in this place is a real nightmare, but he ends up finding comfort in the glow of those stones. For as long as he's stuck here, the kid takes the chance to polish those mysterious gems. That old man looks at the kid with disdain and asks if he really accepts getting beaten just for that. Questioning the sacrifice of sleep just to work on those stones seems pointless to the old man. Not caring about the criticism, he shoots back that his hobby is nobody's business, and he just wants to be left alone. Gripping the stone firmly, he insists he has a real taste for that kind of relic. His attention shifts entirely to the dark ore in the palm of his hand, questioning whether it holds any beauty at all. Eyes locked on the inner glow, he explains that the pattern inside only shows itself after the object is properly polished. The old man stays completely locked in, listening closely as the boy claims that feeling this clarity brings a deep calm to his spirit. Stunned by the revelation, the old man asks whether the boy can really see that pattern, while the kid fires back, wondering what's so impressive about that. Reflecting on the words, the elder brings a hand to his chin as he processes every detail of the conversation. A quiet smile forms at the corner of his mouth as he concludes that the kid might just carry the talent needed for this. That gem in his hands was revealing itself to be an artifact loaded with ancient magic. Startled by the movement, the boy quickly hides the gem to avoid any trouble. Quick explanations are given to the boy, showing that this is ancient magic and that these relics are known as magic stones. Grimoires are the key to channeling that power, though in this place, they only polish the more common stones. Curious, he turns around to ask whether there are even more beautiful ores scattered across the world. A strand of his hair gives a slight tremble, reacting to the elder's comment, confirming that even greater treasures exist out there. Countless magic stones emerge loaded with elemental powers, holding energies of fire, water, and even wind. Feels the tension in the air as he processes every word, aware of the weight of that collar around his neck. That curious little gem rests in the palm of his hand as the elder explains that many rarities like this one are scattered across the world. Looking at the gem, the kid questions whether there's really that much variety out there. Eager to understand the system better, the boy pushes the elder to keep going and asks what the next step in this journey would be. Straight to the point, the old man quickly warns that the priority right now is to find a way out of this prison. A loud crash cuts off any conversation and freezes the boy in pure shock. With no chance to react, a precise kick lands clean on the veteran, slamming him against the bench with full force. Desperate, the kid rushes to the veteran's side to help, but an imposing figure appears right behind him and cuts through the silence. The man appears in luxurious robes and gripping a strange book, makes the kid freeze in fear on the spot. That gleaming crystal cover reflects a strange aura that stops everyone nearby dead in their tracks. Eyes locked forward, the kid tries to process the danger standing right in front of him. Malik steps in front of the two with that mocking smirk, asking where exactly they think they're going. Face locked in cold fury, the noble stares down both prisoners with a chill that freezes them to the bone. Not letting himself be intimidated, the kid fixes a stare of pure determination straight at him. Laughing at the situation, the intruder lets out a dry laugh and taunts the old man, asking if he still thinks he has the energy to try escaping. With a firm grip on the kid's shoulder, the veteran faces the rival and lets out a curse loaded with pure hatred. With bold audacity, the old man shouts out, furious that the traitor still has the nerve to show his face around here. A sadistic grin spreads across his face as he completely ignores the prisoner's desperation. Curious about the figure, the kid asks the veteran if he knows this man, and gets the confirmation that that the guy simply walked away from the path of mages. His jaw locks in a visible effort as bitter memories from the past flood his mind. Malik pushes back against the accusation of betrayal, showing visible offense while keeping his gaze fixed on the other man. With a cynical smile, the villain makes a point of reminding them that their partnership in the grimoire lasted a solid 30 years. Strength isn't something he lacks. His fist clenches so hard his knuckles go white as he listens to the mockery about his former intellect. Memories from decades ago show the two sharing studies and experiments in the library. Years passed, and now the two examine rare relics with the help of spellbooks. Received with great pomp in a hall full of important people, the mood of the gathering quickly turns heavy from the shameless mockery. Painful memories reveal that, not so long ago, the old man's granddaughter was at the mercy of a blade, being used as a hostage. Malik lets it rip and throws it in the veteran's face that he's been using the kid to steal books and profit from selling these magic gems on the black market. Sirius, the leader of the grimoire mages, puts his foot down and warns that he won't let this series of crimes slide. That sarcastic laugh echoes through the room as the opponent bluntly calls the veteran a first-class hypocrite. Mocking the situation, the villain rubs it in the old man's face that his weakness cost him dearly, letting his granddaughter get captured and leaving him in this pitiful state. Face down on the damp prison floor, the kid listens to all that talk without making a sound. That villain also drops it in the room that the veteran was a fierce genius capable of mastering more than 10 types of ancient sorcery. Back then, everyone respected the man and called him the master of miracles. That powerful relic is now locked in the hands of that greedy old man. Mocking the situation, the villain drops the truth. Without his grimoire, the elder is just a useless old man who's good for nothing. With a gaze loaded with hatred, the elder orders the man to get his filthy hands off the magic book right now. Malik mocks the elder's words, letting it drop that the plan all along was to use the crystals to steal that power for himself, trying to repeat the activation process. The elder freezes as he realizes the energy simply won't flow the way it should. Frustration takes over the old man as he laments being unable to reach the level of power his former master commanded. Consumed by rage, the old man throws the relic and the stones to the floor, screaming that all of this is nothing but useless trash. That sight freezes the man as he questions whether the book and the stones are really glowing like that. The moment he laid eyes on those fallen items, his heart started racing out of control. The energy radiating from those objects makes the boy's chest pulse completely out of rhythm. Feels the tightening in his chest grow stronger by the second, as if something inside his body was being forcefully activated. Inside his mind, the book and the crystals seem to whisper, calling him toward the center of that void. The villain breaks the silence, making it clear that his real power doesn't come from any magic artifact. Staring down at that group kneeling before him, he notices that the power he was searching for is coming from somewhere else entirely. Eyes sharp, Malik quickly figures out that Klaus's secret is hidden in that strange eye of his. Demanding an immediate answer, the oppressor pushes to know how he manages to see the true power inside each gem. Without any mercy, the guards move in and pin the elder's arms down. Without holding back, the brute fires a hard punch straight to the old man's face. A precise knee strike breaks the prisoner's resistance, dropping his body against the cold floor. Desperate watching the attack, the kid tries to break free from the guard's hold while screaming out for his master. Blood running down his mouth, Klaus shoots it straight. Even if he handed everything over, that noble would never be capable of seeing real magic. That insult makes the leader's blood boil and his expression goes cold on the spot. Questioning his rival's own perception, Klaus throws it in his face that all that greed is clouding his vision so badly he can't even see what's right in front of him. Blinded by deep hatred, Malik completely loses patience and goes after the elder with a brutal outburst. Grabbing the elder's hair with full force, the attacker unleashes and calls the old man an arrogant, hypocritical piece of trash. The pressure builds even more as fingers dig with brute force into the elder's scalp, intent on causing as much pain as possible. Eyes filled with cruelty, Malik warns that he'll turn the old man into a test subject to steal that power, vowing to drain every last drop of life from him. Picking the relic up from the floor, the assistant makes sure the object takes no damage while Malik keeps all his focus locked on the power he wants. Surrounded by prisoners watching in silence, the noble swears to everyone there that he'll rip out that power no matter the cost. Walking at a slow pace, Malik approaches the table to grab the candelabra and light up the area. With a quick motion, Malik seizes the metal stand and lifts the lit object to illuminate the space. Firm in his intentions, Malik raises the flame up high to seal that sinister promise before everyone present. Paralyzed by the heat flooding the space, the kid can't even move as he trembles with pure fear. Without any hesitation, the attacker hurls the lit flame directly onto the grimoire and the precious stones. Klaus goes into shock at the scene, letting out a desperate cry, trying to make sense of what this madman is doing. With a cynical smile, the man replies that if the contents are useless to him, the book is nothing but a pile of worthless trash. With a grin full of malice, the man warns that he'll make sure the boy never attempts to escape that place ever again. Held down by the guard, Klaus lets out a desperate scream demanding that he stop this madness right now. In a display of pure cruelty, he hurls a lit candle straight at those rare objects to destroy everything. In the middle of the chaos, Klaus freezes when he notices a crystal floating right there in the middle of the flames. Completely hypnotized, the boy stares at the intense glow of the gem as the fire consumes everything around it. Without thinking twice, the kid charges straight into the fire, leaving the old man behind with a look of total confusion. The onlookers are in complete shock at that wild move. The heat is unbearable as he plunges his arm directly into the middle of those scorching flames. The boy pushes through the intense heat while his body takes the full brunt of the extreme temperature. Those stones are his only focus now, even with everything burning around him. Hands nearly on fire, he grabs the oars to save whatever's left from the forge. Catching onto the intention, the elder lets out a desperate cry, telling the boy to grab the sacred book right now. Following the elder's order, the kid turns his face toward the glow of the relic sitting right there in the middle of the fire. Malik moves fast to block any movement the kid might make in the middle of the chaos. With the flaming candelabra raised high, the tyrant goes after the kid, ready to crush anyone who dares get in the way of his plans. Freezes on the spot, the tyrant's eyes go wide as he trembles in total shock at what's unfolding right in front of him. Gripping the tyrant's arm firmly, the boy warns in an ice-cold tone that nobody should cross his path. With a swift motion, the boy drops the torch straight to the ground and lets the fire spread. Without hesitating, he walks through the intense flames with his hand stretched out to reach the item. The overwhelming heat makes the boy grit his teeth, keeping total focus to make sure the mission doesn't fail. Eyes locked on the goal, the kid finally grabs the item with a grin from someone who knows they pulled it off. Raising the grimoire in the middle of the fire, he commands the energy to flow to its absolute limit. A blinding flash takes over his vision and locks the kid's eyes in place as he feels the impact of the thermal shock on his skin. A golden barrier takes over everything around him and keeps the kid protected from the chaos. Klaus watches the scene in complete disbelief, wondering if the boy truly has the talent to command this level of power. Shaken, the boy stares at all that energy surrounding him while trying to understand what's happening. Feeling his body burning from within, he faces the fire spinning all around him. Intense reflections of that magical energy take over his gaze, turning the glow he sees into pure shock. That sphere of raw power pulses before him, promising a level of control the kid never imagined he could have. Malik stands frozen, watching everything with his jaw on the floor, whispering that this is impossible. Completely in disbelief, the villain stares at the scene as the boy awakens as a grimoire forger right in the middle of the fire. The leader loses all patience and orders them to bring him that book right now. Without hesitation, the henchman fires off a nervous, "Yes, sir," and rushes to carry out the order. Without wasting time, the noble charges straight into the heat of the flames, trying to snatch the grimoire for himself. Gripping the grimoire between both hands, he faces the fire, consuming the artifact at full intensity. That figure quickly realizes he has to stop at all costs the book from ending up in the hands of that elder. With a roar of pure fury, the elder revolts at being outperformed by a prisoner. A violent torrent of water appears from nowhere, spinning through the air to put out that fire. Sensing the danger nearby, the boy quickly turns his face while keeping the artifact held tight against his chest. Malik opens his grimoire with force, unleashing the devastating Aqua de Vold technique straight at the boy. That massive wave pushes forward without mercy, crashing directly against the golden barrier, still trying to hold off the impact. Focused, the kid channels all his energy even under the torrent, refusing to give any ground. An expression of shock takes over Malik's face when he sees that the attack ended up doing nothing. Energy explosions mix with the heat of the battle, creating a thick curtain that blinds everyone nearby. Eyes glazed over in the intense heat, Malik figures out he can control the movement of those flames with pure willpower. Raising the grimoire with everything he's got, the boy realizes, jaw dropped, that he can guide each flame exactly where he wants. The villain freezes in total panic, watching that inexperienced kid handle magic like a seasoned veteran. With a quick leap, Malik uses the artifact to deflect the incoming attack and sends that strike right back to its owner. Knees pressed against the damp stone, the boy catches his breath as Klaus watches, frozen, that rare display of raw talent. That gaze revealed a rare gift, capable of reading every hidden rune laid out before him. Taking in the scene, the old prisoner instantly realizes the boy has an incredible natural connection with those long-forgotten, ancient ancient magics. Floating in the air, that grimoire activates a powerful magic circle together with the crystal. Klaus is left absolutely speechless as he notices the kid is a natural-born prodigy awakening right before his eyes. But the master is well aware that, even with that much talent, the kid still has no clue how to actually fight for real. Worried, the elder calculates that Malik is way too high level and the boy could get knocked out in the blink of an eye. Sharp water blasts cut through the air straight at him, forcing the kid to protect himself out of pure instinct. Restrained by the guard, Klaus falls into desperation and lets out a frantic cry, calling out for the boy. With flames licking everything around, the elder stretches his arm out desperately, trying to reach the boy in the middle of the chaos. Holding tight to the sacred book, the kid pushes through the intense heat to make sure that artifact reaches the old man's hands. Sliding across the floor to dodge the flames, the kid bolts out fast as the enemy summons an overwhelming power. Malik raises his arm with pure hatred and makes it clear right away that he won't allow this escape to happen under any circumstances. Concentrating an immeasurable force, the oppressor builds up liquid power all around him with a look hungry for revenge. A massive blast of water fires straight at the kid while the veteran watches everything, frozen in fear. Not letting the attack shake him, the kid pushes through the danger and manages to pass the relic to the master. In that split second, the two keep a firm hold on the relic together, sharing a spark of pure hope. The force of the impact sends the kid flying back, leading Klaus to hold the artifact firmly. Throwing the magic stones as he gets launched away, the kid lets out a desperate cry to the old man. With sharp reflexes, the elder catches all the crystals in midair before time runs out. A massive shockwave consumes the entire dungeon in an instant, silencing the whole place. With no control over the movement, the kid spins through the air as he gets hurled away with full force. The impact of his head against the dry stone echoes as he lies there, completely drained of strength. Eyes fixed on the ground, he whispers the enemy's name with a tone loaded with hatred. Gripping the grimoire firmly, Klaus channels the raw power of all three rare stones at once. Eyes locked on the noble, the elder makes it clear that all that humiliation ends right now. Stepping back with the grimoire in hand, the traitor focuses entirely on the opponent's next moves. Malik lets out a cynical little laugh, asking the old man if he really thought he'd win that easily. Chains are yanked with force, dragging the defenseless captives along behind the jailer. 3 children appear, all marked and wearing collars, serving as nothing more than a cruel distraction for the jailer. Dread takes over Klaus as he recognizes the young prisoners, while the kid watches everything, completely frozen. Cruel details jump out at the kid, revealing a dark mark carved directly into the flesh of the boys. With a cold smile, the noble points to the little boy's chest to mock the master's reaction outright. Pressing into the open wound with brutality, the noble confesses he caused that damage just to destroy the old man. Ripping the object out was unbearable brutality. He explains that it's a dark gem unlike any other. With no time to react, the child collapses to the ground as the guard falls into total desperation. Marks of blood stain his ear as he lies motionless on the cold floor. Klaus and the kid freeze in place, completely shattered by that display of cruelty. Trembling with pure terror, the guard stares at the lifeless body on the floor. Grinding his teeth with pure fury, Klaus unleashes a storm of curses against the man for running experiments on innocent people. Nearby, the boy pushes with every last bit of effort to sit up beside the elder who can barely process what he just witnessed. Completely in shock, the kid repeats the words out loud, struggling to believe anyone could be capable of such cruelty. Malik flashes a mocking grin, dropping it flat out that those test subjects were born with their fate already sealed, to live and fall like pure disposable tools. An uncontrollable rage takes over the boy, who can no longer hide the deep hatred for what he's witnessing. Without any mercy, Malik stomps down hard on the kid's head while he has no way to defend himself. With a cynical laugh, Malik says the victim should even be grateful for fueling his research. Klaus completely loses it and lets out a deafening scream, calling out the enemy's name with pure hatred in his voice. His eyes take on a deeply unsettling emptiness as he decides it's time to put an end to the noble's reign once and for all. A sinister wave of energy fires out from the book, surrounding Malik from every direction. Panic takes over the henchmen as they scramble to flee from that devastating power. Trembling with fear, the hostages can't even react as the whole place shakes from the impact of that energy. The elder launches a storm of flames straight at the traitor, not giving him even a second to breathe. Shielding his face with his arms, the boy finally grasps what it truly means to witness the power of a real mage. Malik lets out a strained groan, struggling to withstand the force of that wall of fire consuming everything around him. Sweating from the intense heat, he pushes with everything he has to hold his ground and not fall under all that pressure. A dark grin forms on his face as he celebrates finally getting the chance to see his old partner brought to his knees. That old man presses his face close and orders Klaus to stand down, threatening to turn the kid into a test subject until there's nothing left of him. Feeling the danger dripping through the tension, the boy understands the tables have turned and there's no way out of this mess. Surrounded by flames climbing higher and higher, the kid tries to find a way out while feeling the suffocating heat consuming the space. Fixing his gaze on the gem in his hands, Klaus feels a powerful energy vibrating right in his palm. He brings the crystal close to the sacred book, trying to get the magic flowing once more. Eyes lock on the flowing energy, the boy desperately reaches to bring back that feeling of total spiritual connection. The glowing patterns on the relic are the only key for Klaus to activate the hidden power within. There's no chance he's accepting a life as a lab subject for the rest of his days. Whispering a firm promise, the kid clenches his jaw and braces himself to face whatever comes next. With a precise movement, Klaus grips the object with full force, feeling the energy take over his hand. In that moment, Klaus's gaze takes on a determination that wasn't there before, locked entirely on the freedom outside. A colossal explosion of energy takes over everything, consuming every piece of ore in the dungeon in the process. Shock takes over Malik as he faces that destructive energy swallowing the air around him. Tries to process the damage while watching. Jaw dropped, the boy manifests a forbidden power. In the middle of the chaos, the boy lets out a cry loaded with fury, announcing that this cursed captivity has finally come to an end. Eyes fixed and burning with rage, the boy stares the oppressor down and warns that the moment of reckoning has arrived. Dread takes over the traitor, who trembles before the relentless fury radiating from the kid. A dark grin forms on his face as he announces he's going to wipe out everything standing before him. Scarlet stone in hand, the boy commands the entire dungeon to be reduced to ashes. Everything around begins to shake violently as the energy consumes the place, leaving everyone in shock. Malik freezes in place, unable to comprehend how that kid managed to invoke an ancient magic without needing any grimoire. Overtaken by absolute rage, Malik roars for the chaos to destroy everything in that instant. Hand raised to the sky, the kid holds the reddish crystal as all that dark energy swirls wildly around him. Eyes burning with pure fury, the boy swears he'll turn everything there to ashes right now. Klaus watches from a distance, book open in his hands, as he grows alarmed seeing the magic stones completely collapse. Refusing to believe what he's seeing, the old man freezes on the spot, feeling the weight of that imminent destruction. His hand trembles and the core slips from his fingers in a total lapse. The oppressor doesn't even flinch. He immediately channels that strange energy and lets out a roar, calling the kid absolute trash. With uncontrollable fury, he releases a wave of dark energy while hurling insults at the boy. The attack advances toward him, but the kid stays completely calm inside that blazing barrier. Without wasting a second, the kid fires back a heavy counter that makes the air explode in a violent mix of fire and smoke, straight at the enemy. Completely cornered by his own failures, Malik snaps and tries to take out his frustration with a storm of insults. A colossal explosion consumes the area when the powers collide, splitting the entire scene right down the middle. Feet planted on the stone floor, the boy feels the heat from the sparks surrounding every inch of his body. Eyes locked on the guards, he channels a wild energy that makes the ground shake beneath his feet. Armed guards advance through the dungeon to contain the uprising of the cornered prisoners. Malik loses patience with his henchmen stalling and drops the order for them to finish off that slave right now. Without delay, the group charges straight at the kid to carry out the boss's order. Silent, the kid faces the group with an ice-cold, focused stare. The pressure builds because they all know being surrounded at a moment like this is as good as over. With his priority clear, he understands he needs to get everyone out of there as fast as possible. With energy exploding all around, the boy unleashes his full power to face anyone who dares come at him. Roaring with everything he has, the kid warns Klaus to watch out for the people rising up behind him. Shaken by the warning, the elder freezes on the spot while trying to process what's happening. Hostages huddled in the corner of the wall catch his attention in the middle of the chaos. A torrent of dark flames erupts, swallowing the guards without giving them any chance to react. All that destructive force sweeps through the prison corridor in a blink, leaving nothing intact along the way. Desperation takes over as they try to flee the deadly advance with nowhere to run. Desperate screams echo through the space as the flames consume each one of them without mercy. Malik snarls with rage while taking out all his frustration on the failure of his henchmen. Pressing down hard on the ground, the man plants his feet firm as he releases that overwhelming energy. That figure freezes on the spot, feeling a chill run down his spine, facing the raw power pouring out of the kid. Not losing his composure, the boy stays calm and reads every single move the opponent makes with a cold gaze. Carefully, Klaus lifts each of the hostages and orders them to clear out of there as fast as possible. As the young ones flee in desperation, the old man takes control and carves a path through the fire to ensure everyone's safety. With a fearless charge, the kid sends the storm of flames straight into the chains trying to hold him back. Malik grits his teeth, feeling the suffocating pressure from that intense heat trying to overpower him. Channeling full focus, he guides the flames with a precise movement of his hands to control the flow of the attack. Eyes locked on the opponent revealed the relentless determination of someone who has zero concern for the danger. Desperation takes over the villain as he faces that massive storm, completely refusing to accept being defeated by a simple slave boy. Grinding his teeth from sheer rage, he refuses to believe this is actually happening. Palms stretched upward, the noble tries to hold off the force while his shield of light blazes intensely against the impact. The magic barrier gets shattered into 1,000 pieces under the force of the impact. Malik can barely process the damage as he feels the full weight of defeat finally closing in. The heat from that explosion scorches Malik's face before he can manage any reaction whatsoever. That violent blast sends Malik flying backward with everything behind it. Steady, the boy holds his ground in the middle of the storm of flames dancing all around him. Defeated, the noble drags himself on his knees and murmurs with bitterness that the boy ruined everything he built. With a firm grip on the object, an unstable energy begins to radiate from that hand. Completely out of control, the noble points his finger and screams, ordering the kid to disappear from the face of the earth right now. Without wasting time, the kid channels a devastating energy to fire back. Malik launches a massive energy sphere to obliterate anyone standing in its path. Fear takes over the noble when the shield cracks, showing that his attack completely failed. Everything begins to give way as cracks spread across the shield under unbearable pressure. Without hesitating, the boy dashes forward like lightning and locks the noble's throat in an iron grip. With a calm, ice-cold gaze, he warns the noble to stop crossing his path. Cries of pure desperation echo through the space as the fire consumes whatever strength he had left. Malik collapses to the ground without any reaction as the boy simply looks down at the fallen body from above. Klaus watches all of it with his jaw dropped, processing that, even knowing the kid's potential, he never expected a power level this extreme. Klaus stares at the kid in total disbelief, unable to wrap his head around the fact that he just surpassed a mage at Malik's level right after awakening. With a steady gaze, the kid asks the elder whether that evil man can finally face justice for his terrible crimes behind bars. Magic book open in his hands, the elder keeps his expression serious and prepares the next spell. As he confirms the sentence, the veteran locks the gem into the right position for the spell to run. A burst of green wind appears from nowhere and wraps around the defeated villain's body. The elder lets the boy know they'll be taking the unconscious traitors straight to the surface. With full force, the kid crushes the pink gem in his hand. Taking a deep breath, the boy feels the exhaustion hit hard after burning through that much energy at once. Resting a hand on the kid's shoulder, Klaus pushes him to pull himself together right away. Without wasting time, the mage gives the signal for them to get out of there as soon as possible. Stone stairs are the only path while flames consume everything right behind them. An intense light blocks the top of the stairs and makes the boy cover his face to shield himself. Rubbing his eyes hard, he tries to adjust to the brightness outside. Overwhelmed by what he sees, the kid can't hide the emotion of finally being free from that nightmare. Arms wide open, the kid celebrates his freedom alongside the elder, having finally escaped for good. Asking the old man about the location of those stones, he focuses on preparing for the journey ahead of them. A voice calls out from somewhere behind, shouting that they found the kid, and he spins around instantly to face the incoming danger. Soldiers pour in by the dozens, advancing on the kid, throwing the blame for the fire in the mansion straight at him. Shackled and completely silent, the kid faces a packed courtroom without lowering his head. The gavel slams hard on the bench, demanding immediate silence in that tribunal, accusing the boy of starting the fire in Malik's mansion. The prosecutor argues no trial is even needed since he's nothing but a slave. With a gaze full of contempt, the magistrate sentences the boy to death without even blinking. Shouts echo through the entire hall as the crowd demands the kid's life right then and there without any mercy. Insults and slurs fly from every direction, with the crowd calling the kid nothing more than a filthy servant. Holding the prisoner by the arms, the guards drag the kid out as the order to remove him echoes through the hall. Desperate to prove his innocence, he tries to shout that he didn't commit the crime, but the words die in his throat. Deep in the background, the great gate lights up and an imposing figure appears to put a stop to the chaos. Klaus walks in with his glasses and robe, commanding respect as he drops an objection right then and there. Recognizing the familiar face, the boy loses his breath and stands frozen at the sight of his ally. Whispers ripple through the courtroom as everyone present is taken aback by the arrival of the legendary Master of Miracles. Questioning the tribunal, he drops the real question: does it truly make sense to condemn someone just for being a slave, without even seeking the truth first? Eyes-focused, the mage locks his gaze on the king and speaks up to know what he truly thinks about the situation. From high on the throne, the king stays in complete silence, observing everything without letting out a single word. After a silence that felt endless, the king finally breaks it and lets slip that it's been a good while since they last saw each other. Ruling that punishment is deserved, the monarch questions why such an influential figure insists on defending a simple servant. Head kept low, the kid ignores the pressure of the environment and holds in absolute silence. Chest puffed with pride, Klaus reveals to everyone that the kid standing beside him is, in fact, his one and only disciple. That declaration hits the king like a punch, leaving him completely frozen in the face of the revelation. Trembling with fury, the monarch jumps to his feet, questioning out loud whether a mere prisoner truly managed to awaken magic. In that recent memory, the elder extends a wooden box holding a magic artifact toward the boy. With the artifact extended in the palm of his hand, the master offers that powerful item to the kid, while the sacred book hovers just beside it. Eyes going wide in shock, the boy can barely believe what he's seeing right in front of him. Klaus lets out a calm smile, trying to keep the kid's nerves in check under all that pressure. Marks of dirt and sweat cross his face as he gives a slight smile at the corner of his mouth. Fingers trembling, he holds the artifact in the middle of the courtroom and realizes he finally caught the old man's message. A firm grip on the object reveals the kid is ready to grab the full attention of everyone in that room. Eyes fixed on the throne, the boy knows he has to prove his worth to the king to show he's far more than just a simple slave. Taking courage, the boy faces the judges and decides to reveal once and for all who the real villain of this story is. The shackles dropping to the floor mark the moment the boy's wrists are finally freed from that weight. Looking at his calloused hands, he still feels the grip of the iron collar around his neck. Expression serious, the gray-bearded noble breaks the silence, stating that if the boy is truly a grimoire mage, everyone there needs to hear what he has to say. From high on the throne, the king lets drop that he doesn't doubt Klaus, but admits he's never once heard of a slave who became a mage. Many nobles in the crowd protest loudly, with one wealthy lord shouting that water mages are far too valuable for a situation like this. Arms crossed, the top hat lord dismisses the boy, firing off that it's impossible for a dirty servant to awaken a power like that. Without hesitating, the boy presses the gem against the book to show everyone exactly what he's capable of. A massive torrent of water surges from nowhere, swirling around the kid while the audience stands there with their mouths wide open. The entire crowd goes into shock at what they see, and the top hat lord loses his balance, nearly falling backward from the sheer surprise. The king watches everything with a furrowed brow, completely frozen before an elemental power of that magnitude. Controlling the flow with total ease, he pauses and reflects on just how powerful and stunning water magic truly is. Outraged by the situation, the top hat lord rises from his seat with wild gestures and shouts that this whole thing is an unacceptable mistake. Fuming, the wealthy lord drops that it's impossible for a slave to achieve something so many nobles tried and failed at miserably. Klaus watches the scene in complete silence while the boy simply ignores all that pointless chatter from the court. Out of patience with all the talk, the kid summons a powerful jet of water that advances straight at the crowd to silence everyone at once. The top hat noble freezes on the spot, face breaking into a cold sweat as the water comes slicing to within inches of his nose. Water droplets suspended in midair keep the noble frozen in place, unable to look away from that liquid threat. Done listening, the kid drops the truth, saying that both he and Malik only know how to talk about bloodlines and put others down. Grimoire in hand, the boy questions whether the bloodline of nobles and mages truly gives them the right to take anyone's life. With a cold, steady gaze, he pushes the man to answer that question right now. Desperation takes over the man as he stammers, getting hit square in the face by the water blast. Completely cornered, the man tries to act tough and screams that the law doesn't allow that kind of thing. Smirking at the corner of his mouth, the boy holds his ground inside the barrier, while the stiff collar guy lets out his last gasp of outrage. Mocking every single word, the boy flashes that smug grin while the water spins around him, pointing his finger at the poor man. The boy warns that if rules are what matter, there's someone in that room who deserves a far worse punishment. In the crowd, one of the nobles feels a cold sweat run down his neck as he realizes the tide has turned against them. Fist clenched tight, he reveals that Malik tried to take out both the kid and the elder down in that dungeon, accusing Malik of sacrificing children in cruel experiments. The boy demands to know why that monster isn't sitting in the defendant's seat. Shaken by the accusation, the ruler turns to the old mage expecting an immediate answer about what went down. Placing a hand on the boy's shoulder, Klaus confirms to the ruler that every single word spoken there is the truth. Klaus points to the boy, stating that if it weren't for him, he wouldn't even be there in one piece to tell the story, and then demands they search the basement of the mansion immediately to find the hidden evidence. Painful memories flood the boy's mind, bringing back the images of the children taken by Malik. Children kept in total darkness reveal the cruel extent of the experiments the boy was forced to witness. Looking up at the throne, the boy makes it clear he won't accept being sentenced just because of his past as a slave, promising he'll fight back if anyone tries something against him. With the raw display of power, he commands the water around him to guarantee his escape and put an end to all of this. The wealthy crowd watches that bold threat with their mouths wide open, not knowing what to do against that level of power. Adjusting his glasses calmly, the old mage decides to weigh in and faces the boy with a visible smirk. Klaus makes it clear that the kingdom can't afford to lose a caster as valuable as the boy. With a sharp look, the ruler demands a definitive answer right then and there, pressing the man against the wall. Breathing out in relief, the mentor stays quiet while the boy waits for the ruler's final decision. Closing his tired eyes, the king admits to the room that writing off a prodigy of that level simply isn't an option. Raising his arm with authority, the king closes the trial and orders the knights to rush to Malik's estate for an immediate search. Cleared of all charges, the boy and the elder walk toward the massive gates of the tribunal. The ruler calls the veteran over for one last instruction before they leave. Straight to the point, the ruler firmly warns the veteran to keep an eye on every step the boy takes from this moment on. Klaus bows his head before the throne and accepts the assignment from the ruler without hesitation. Walking under the sun, the boy stretches his arms out, celebrating his freedom while thanking the elder for the strength he gave him. Looking at his companion's appearance, the kid drops a comment, genuinely impressed that the man looks like a completely different person now in such fine clothes. Leaving the past entirely behind, the master walks with impeccable posture, showing no trace of the prisoner who once lived in filth. Doubts linger in the boy's mind as he straight up questions whether the elder is really the powerful mage everyone talks about. In a firm tone, the elder demands to be addressed as master, proudly revealing that he is a grimoire caster. Eager to learn, the kid keeps asking whether they can find food in the forest as they plan the journey ahead. Eyes lighting up with excitement, he suggests right away that the forest might be just the place to secure some food for the two of them. Fed up with the boy's lack of focus, Klaus cuts the topic short and warns that before thinking about food, he needs to master the basics of magic. The idea of studying ends up annoying the kid, who makes it clear he'd rather focus on just hunting for those precious stones. That look on the kid's face gives away that he's nowhere near ready to sit through that lecture. The map shows the looming threat of demons advancing toward the territory, making Klaus clear that wandering out alone is asking for trouble. Adjusting his lenses, he locks his gaze on the boy to drive home that the warning is no joke. Marks from the beating still fresh on his body, he clenches his fist tight, fully aware that the veteran's warning is a direct sentence about his fate. Determined not to just accept the warning quietly, his hand closes with force, reflecting his will to still go after those gems. Finger pointed, the kid tells the master that it was exactly him who opened his eyes to the existence of that vast world. Serious, the boy looks at the old man and drops it straight, asking if it wasn't him who caused all this chaos in the first place. Sighing with no good comeback, the master closes his eyes while admitting the boy has a point. With a light tap of the book on the kid's head, Klaus shoots it straight, saying he knows all that very well, and that because of this situation, the boy has no other choice but to become a mage. Running a hand through his hair, the kid listens to every word from the master with the face of someone processing it all. The experienced mentor opens up and warns that to find those rare stones, the kid first needs to study quite a bit on the subject. 3 gems appear in front of the kid as the master explains that mastering the secrets and magic within them will change everything he thought he knew about this power. Studying at the tower and becoming a grimoire mage will give the kid the power and wisdom he so desperately needs. That floating fortress in the distance serves as the next destination for the boy, the place where he'll get what he needs to unravel every mystery. Guiding the kid, the master reinforces how important it is to use all the support and influence of the institution to his advantage. Walking side by side, the elder assures the boy that this entire journey is about earning the freedom to live however he chooses. Whispering the words to himself, the kid reflects on what he truly wants to achieve from this point forward. Looking at his calloused hands, the boy realizes he finally has control of his own destiny right there in his palms. In that clear vision, the boy sees that having this power in his hands is the only path to living life the way he always wanted. Accepting the master's offer without even thinking twice, the boy simply nods to signal that everything is good. Without hesitating, he agrees to the mentor's proposal and gets ready to head toward the magic tower. With a sly grin on his face, he warns that if he ever feels like he's wasting time, the deal is off on the spot. Thumb pointed at his own chest, the kid drops it straight about walking away to follow his own journey. A small smirk forms at the corner of Klaus's mouth as he accepts the deal right away. The welcome happens right there, with the old man greeting the kid inside that imposing fortress. That massive stone structure seems to swallow his silhouette as the kid takes his very first steps inside. Starting now, day one at this magic tower that's about to become a nightmare for a lot of people. Memories of what was said the day before flood the kid's mind as he takes in the place. Detailed explanations come about how the tower works, serving as the kingdom's primary defense barrier against the demon threat and as the center for studying arcane arts and power stones. The old man explains that in this place, grimoire mages carry out missions for the kingdom or focus on research, all based on each person's abilities. Watching the activity in the library area, the old man mentions that the center of all operations is the main hall. Eyes glazed over, the kid tries to absorb all of that new information at once. Walking up the staircase at a relaxed pace, the old man guides the kid to finish the final formalities because the people upstairs are already waiting. Hesitating on the first step, the kid stops everything and throws out the question about what the tutor's next move will be. Without turning around, the elder warns that he has other pending matters and can't accompany him for now. Klaus faces the boy with full seriousness, making it clear that this is on him now and that the kid needs to give it everything he has. Climbing that endless spiral staircase, the boy already starts feeling the weight of exhaustion in the first few flights. Legs getting heavy, the boy leans against the railing and lets out a tired sigh, grumbling that this staircase just never ends. Even exhausted, he lifts his face with determination and tells himself that he's finally made it to the top. Taking in the heavy activity at the front desk, he questions whether that's really the right place to sort out his paperwork. Breathing hard, the kid steps into the center of the hall and faces what's coming. That scene stops the kid dead in his tracks, leaving him completely frozen at what he sees. People float in the center of the hall as if locked in a trance before that monumental wall. Golden gears spin at a frantic pace behind that wall, as if they have a life of their own. Eyes fixed on the wall, the staff member studies every detail of those markings that keep on glowing. That grand sight leaves the boy standing still, wondering if what's right in front of him is actually a giant book. Researchers look like giants up there, pointing out and breaking down every secret of that grimoire for the kid to see. Raising his hands in a questioning gesture, the boy asks what exactly everyone there is supposed to be doing. A staff member appears out of nowhere from behind, taps Klaus on the shoulder, and shouts to get his attention. Jumping out of his skin, Klaus spins around, clenches his fist in annoyance, and shoots a very unfriendly look at whoever interrupted him. The staff member flashes a welcoming smile, confirms who he is, and gestures kindly for him to follow. At the front desk, the staff member checks the documents, confirms everything is in order, and hands Klaus his identification card. That metal tray carries a strange object that leaves the kid's eyes wide open. Curious about the item, the kid asks if that's a magic stone, and she confirms the object carries the water attribute, perfect for his level as an apprentice. Attention fully locked on the object, he focuses his gaze on the gem, trying to feel the flow of power radiating from it. Wrapping up the explanation, the attendant also throws in some encouragement for him to give his best on the missions and secure those promotions. With an encouraging smile, she reinforces the request for him to put in maximum effort on his new challenges. Curious about the next step, the kid asks about any available task and is pointed toward the notice board called Memory, which holds everything he needs. Walking side by side, the two head straight back to the magic device at the center of the hall. Calmly explained, she reveals that panel holds the record of every mission and research project since the tower was founded, adding that the system saves everyone's history. She instructs him to touch the panel to register his profile. Without wasting time, the boy reaches out his hand to interact with that floating interface. The system runs a quick scan and confirms that Klaus's authentication went through just fine. That tech interface quickly displays his apprentice rank, leaving Klaus completely speechless as he makes his request to the system. The attendant drops it right away, explaining to Klaus that the panel also accepts voice commands and suggesting he go ahead and check the available missions. In a very calm tone, Klaus makes a request, making the attendant laugh as she points out he doesn't need to be so stiff with the wording. On the screen, a full mission list appears instantly for review, but the attendant quickly warns that by the rules he needs to pair up with someone of general rank or higher to be able to carry out the assignment. Finger pointing at the panel, she explains that the Tower Master already set aside the first mission for the kid. Not listening at all, the boy points in another direction and makes it clear he's going to investigate the ore vein instead. Panicking, the attendant lets out a shout warning that search is only for those about to graduate, since the path is packed with dangerous demons. That look of total confusion gives away that she has no idea what to make of the magic panel's approval. Cries of desperation echo through the corridor while he, calm as ever, ignores the woman's panic and guarantees that combat isn't an issue since the system gave the green light. Questioning who this Lucas guy is, the kid brushes off the attendant's meltdown and tries to understand why she's so worked up. Shock is the only word for her reaction. She can't wrap her head around how someone can be that out of the loop and immediately asks if the two of them don't know each other. That attendant fires off that the guy is simply the one and only apprentice of the Tower Master, famous for pulling off incredible feats everywhere he goes. This time around, she talks him up as a magic genius who reached intermediate level in a time frame that would normally take an entire decade. Excited, a red-haired colleague cuts into the conversation to drop that the kid is an absolute prodigy who pulled all of that off in just 4 years. Secrets about the Tower Master's past start coming out, reinforcing that he hadn't taken on apprentices in decades and that the boy is the likely heir to all that knowledge. Fully hyped up, she still makes a point of saying that having a mage of that level as a senior partner is the greatest stroke of luck imaginable. Whispers start rippling through the hall as people there begin talking behind the boy's back about what he's been up to. Ignoring every bitter comment, the boy keeps walking as if those whispers about him being just a slave mean absolutely nothing. Sighs come from the staff members who can't stop praising how handsome and kind the senior mage is, while the boy just murmurs to himself about his new partner. Official documents bring the supervisor's name front and center, confirming who's going to be running the show. Official signed document already in hand, he steps away from the main hall ready to start the preparations. Arriving in front of that heavy wooden door, he takes a deep breath before facing that mysterious tutor. Turning the handle, he walks right in with zero enthusiasm, already thinking that having a partner is going to be a real obstacle for what he needs to do. Telling himself he has to swallow his pride to level up, the boy braces for whatever comes. A scolding right off the bat points out that only 3 days have passed, leaving the kid completely thrown off by the tutor's reaction. Feather duster in hand, the tutor immediately starts demanding order, complaining that the place turned into a mess the second he stepped out for a moment. Moving along the walls, the tutor keeps lecturing, grumbling that the place became a complete disaster and demanding everything be organized immediately. Quickly bends down to pick up scattered papers, quietly complaining about the careless handling of documents that are worth their weight in gold. Jumps out of his skin, immediately stammering at the thought that the master came back way too early. Noticing the presence of a stranger standing at the door, the kid quickly gets up to figure out who this unexpected visitor is. Right away, the blonde one figures out this person must actually be the one and only Klaus. Dropping the act, Lucas opens up a friendly smile and introduces himself in the most relaxed way, confirming he's the senior of the duo. Sizing the man up from close range, the boy admits to himself that this strange guy genuinely managed to catch him off guard. Switching the subject, the senior quickly picks up that the boy stopped by the Great Hall to find out about the task. With a friendly pat on the back, Lucas reassures the kid that he doesn't need to worry since he'll have company on this journey. Without wasting time, he extends the paper to the boy, offering to explain any detail that might still be unclear. Completely ignoring the offer of help, the kid keeps walking with a cynical smirk, bluntly stating he's not even slightly nervous about the situation. His reaction is total shock as he watches the kid walk away completely unbothered, announcing he chose a different task for the job. Lucas looks over the paper content, visibly puzzled when he realizes the location marked is somewhere else entirely, quickly asking if the destination is really that mine in the southern forest. The official seal stamped on the paper immediately catches his attention, proving the paperwork is no joke. Already heading toward the exit, he wants to know right away when departure is scheduled. A suggestion of a shared carriage in the morning means they'd reach the southern forest quickly in just over 2 hours. Getting straight to the point, he warns that departure is early, leaving the other guy standing there, completely baffled by all the rush. Books tucked under his arm, the young man follows the path in complete silence. Lucas tries to slow his pace and asks the boy to pay close attention to the details of the trip. All that paperwork scattered across the floor dries the poor guy up the wall since he had just finished organizing everything. Walking down the stone corridor of the tower, the boy keeps moving with his mind entirely somewhere else. Thinking it over, the kid admits that the veteran actually seems like a decent person, or something close to it. Gathering all that scattered paperwork off the floor, Lucas lets out a tired sigh from someone who's completely over the weight of the workload. Those papers serve as a reference for the route while the young man observes everything from up on the balcony. Locked up on the upper floor, the kid opens a book and reflects that he doesn't need to become close friends with anyone around here. Taking the opportunity, Lucas dives into the books, searching for any knowledge that might prove useful. Every book that seems to have any practical value gets separated into its own specific pile by him. With a smirk at the corner of his mouth, the kid tells himself he's going to give everything to level up fast. Document in hand, Lucas finds out that the mission reward is a free pass to choose a magic book. Eyes locked on his reading, Lucas channels all his determination into getting this trip moving as soon as possible. Worn out from all that studying, Lucas ends up dozing off in the middle of the paper mess on the table. Waking up with a jolt, he stares into nothing, trying to figure out if that was just a quick nap or if he completely lost track of time. Looking around, the man jumps to his feet to get his bearings in the space. His attention gets pulled toward a senior member going through the bookshelves, completely absorbed in those massive stacks. Lucas organizes the scattered papers on the table while checking over 3 strange gems sitting right beside them. A jolt runs through the kid as he stares at that stone, which locks every bit of his attention onto it. That magic gem glows intensely, displaying golden details that draw in all of his focus. Sitting there, the young man picks up a pen to start logging the pieces on the sheet of paper. Lucas quickly notices the movement, apologizes, and asks the kid if he just woke him up. Stumbling over his words a little, the man assures him that it was nothing like that. The gleaming piece ends up in the newcomer's hands as he makes a point of showing it to his partner. A genuine smile forms on the boy's face as he comments, completely fascinated, on how beautiful that object is. Surprised, Lucas mentions that he can see the ancient sorcery within the item, something only 3 people in the entire tower are capable of. Noticing his companion's distraction, the blonde one questions whether he's actually paying attention to what's being explained. Completely tuning out the call, the kid puts all his focus on the golden frame of the artifact. Analyzing every detail of the piece, the boy concludes to himself that this frame is totally different from the other one. Lucas catches a whisper from somewhere nearby and turns his face immediately, still looking like he didn't quite catch what was said. Looking at the tray, the boy notices that 2 of those stones look identical. The veteran confirms the suspicion and explains that the details on the edges are exactly what separates the original gems from the copies. Studying every detail of the pieces, the boy still tries to understand the criteria used to tell the originals apart from the fakes. Lucas sets a rough piece on the workbench and explains that every item carrying ancient sorcery is classified as a magic stone. After being polished for mage use, they become jewels, while the mentor checks whether the boy is following the reasoning. Each type of ancient power determines how these pieces are classified, as he explains to the apprentice. Those markings in the book show exactly how to manipulate natural elements like fire and water. The symbols on the other page reveal how to control the senses and interact with the environment in some very unique ways. Illustrations in the grimoire detail how to achieve a kind of enhanced vision, and even amplify hearing so the person can pick up everything around them. Calmly, the partner explains that that gem allows the user to see through objects and also gives a solid upgrade to all the senses. Holding those 2 stones carefully, he gives his full attention to what the mentor is saying while they check whether everything is sinking in. The mentor points to the panel and indicates where to slot the attribute circuit on the left side. The gems lock perfectly into their slots and begin pulsing with an intense energy that activates the magic system on the page. Concluding that those drawn circuits are the key to extracting the ancient sorcery, the kid immediately gets the confirmation from his partner. With full precision, he brings the glowing gem close and carefully slots it into the circle drawn on the page. Reflecting quietly, the boy figures out that only mages can manipulate this ancient sorcery thanks to the grimoires. The moment he tries to complete the slot, the veteran's gloved hand appears over the page, interrupting the process to explain that the grimoire is actually something essential. The boy simply stays silent, processing every word spoken by his companion with complete attention. Lucas reinforces with full seriousness that, for a mage, that mystical book is just as valuable as life itself. Flashbacks pass through the boy's mind, bringing up an essential memory he had stored somewhere deep. In the memory, the old master appears furious, screaming that no one should ever dare touch his book. Lifting that green-covered book, he explains that having a compatible copy amplifies power and makes controlling magic far easier. With a satisfied smile, the veteran shows off the grimoire to prove the level of control a personalized item provides. In his own head, the kid wonders whether owning a personal grimoire really makes that much of a difference when it comes to controlling power. That mission carries a serious reward, the right to participate in the selection for a grimoire. Flashing a small smile, the veteran asks the kid to return the magic stone to the tray without making a mess. With a confident grin, he swears to himself that his own grimoire is going to be his greatest ally on this long journey. The carriage wheels begin rolling down the dirt road, kicking up dust as they pull away. In the middle of the road, Lucas says goodbye to the carriage, all pumped up, while the kid watches the scene with that look of someone who isn't exactly impressed. Complaining about his back, the tutor quickly drops that the mud on the trail is absolutely wrecking him. Looking around with a puzzled expression, the boy asks his companion if this is really the so-called miners' village. The silence of the place catches the veteran's attention, who quickly comments with curiosity that he doesn't spot a single person around. Unsettled by the dead silence of that village, Lucas scans every corner with a sharp look, sensing that something is very wrong here. Checking the coordinates, the kid questions whether the mine entrance is really close to that position. The partner confirms the suspicion and points out that the passage is hidden behind the houses, while he digs through the rubble nearby. Taking in the whole scene, he tries to decode the mystery hanging over that village. A dark energy cuts through the air and puts both of them on full alert as danger suddenly shows itself. 3 deformed wolves leap from the rocks growling and charge straight at them. Lucas dodges the attacks with agility while warning his companion that those are the creatures from the mission, immediately demanding the spellbook. Confirming the plan with a firm nod, the boy already braces for the confrontation. From above, you can see the pack going all out while the two open their grimoires to strike back. Right after the kid presents the blue device and lists out which stones are available for use. In his memory, he recalls the moment the attendant shows a tray with the 3 gems available for rental. Measuring the heat of the flames is key to taking out the wolves without setting everything nearby on fire. Lucas turns with a firm expression and tells the boy to stick close, promising nothing is going to happen to him. The veteran immediately opens the spellbook and gets the gem slotted in to channel his power. Energy begins flowing from the pages of the book as he waves off the help, guaranteeing he can handle it on his own. A confident smile appears on the kid's face, making it clear he's more than ready to take out whatever comes at him. An intense burst of light explodes at the boy's feet, marking the start of the activation. His hand touches the ground while Lucas stands there watching everything, completely locked in on what's happening. Surrounded by 3 wolves ready to pounce, he realizes that the force of this gem is way too raw to control in a moment like this. Shouting with full force, the boy brings a massive pillar of earth crashing up to intercept the attacks. A sharp stone spike drives through the chest of one of the creatures and launches it straight into the air. The force of the strike shatters the creature's core and sends the impact flying in every direction. A thick cloud of dust takes over the scene as the mentor freezes, completely floored by the power the kid just unleashed. Staying calm, he explains that he read in a book that the key to defeating these demons is destroying their crystal. A side smirk forms on the partner's face as he can't hide the satisfaction of seeing just how much raw talent the kid has. Recognizing his own mistake, Lucas admits the boy genuinely has what it takes to be his official apprentice. With a quick gesture, the veteran controls the creature's movement, drawing a sigh of relief from the kid who barely dodged that one. Without wasting time, the two combine magic attacks to finish off the remaining wolves once and for all. In a swift motion, the partner fires a blast of dark wind that sends the last creature flying far away. Relieved that the chaos is over, the boy opens a smile and thanks his partner for having his back when it mattered most. A deafening roar from the mines cuts to calm and throws both of them into a state of full alert. Panic takes over the guard the moment the creature's jaw locks onto his arm, making the man scream for help in the middle of the village. Ground shaking beneath their feet, the two break into a full sprint to stop the creature from causing even more destruction in the village. Even pushing to cover ground, the boy lets out an irritated complaint, noticing the target is still way too far, all while charging forward with the grimoire held tight. The boy sweats from the effort of running, while the partner right behind him keeps a calm that would drive anyone crazy. Lucas grabs the boy by the cape and tells him to hold on to that mystical book like his very life depends on it. Without wasting a second, the mentor invokes the dancing wind spell to launch the duel at an incredible speed. An emerald hurricane appears from nowhere and hurls both mages high into the air. holding the kid tight. Lucas lets out a desperate shout, trying to be heard above that wild storm. Senses sharpened, he focuses on the battlefield below and spots the deadly danger facing the survivor. The beast on the ground sinks its teeth into the soldier's arm while the other creature drops from above to finish the job. About to be overwhelmed, the boy opens his book mid-air and channels a defensive magic to protect himself. A golden matrix expands across the ground and pins the creatures in place on the spot. Two wooden stakes burst from the ground with full force, driving through the creatures and ensuring the soldier gets out this time. Landing with agility right beside him, the kid arrives, asking the soldier if he got hurt. Gratitude is what the guard feels as he thanks the mages for the rescue, but the veteran cuts the conversation short and tells him to get to a safe spot if he can still walk. A massive shadow drops from above, revealing a monstrous wolf that lets out a roar capable of freezing anyone to the bone, ready to tear them apart. The creature charges with everything in a precise lunge at the two of them. That stone embedded in the monster's forehead catches his attention, making him wonder what kind of power is locked inside. Fixing his gaze on the beast's forehead, he notices a faint golden light pulsing from within. Even with the danger right there, the guy questions whether it's possible to defeat the demons without destroying that crystal. But Lucas answers a bit unsure that nobody has actually tried that to know for certain. Picking up on the energy coming from there, he notices that the intense glow in the beast's eyes is identical to that of a pure magic gem. In that moment, the mentor looks away, intrigued by the situation, thinking to himself that he can't see a single thing there. A nagging doubt lingers over the kid, who wonders to himself whether only he can see that glow, or if there's some strange connection forming between the two of them. A smirk forms at the corner of the boy's mouth, leaving his companion completely confused. With a decisive stance, the guy states that to uncover this mystery, the only way forward is to get his hands on the item belonging to that monster. Thinking through the plan, the kid concludes he needs to immobilize the creature before pulling out the gem, even if the veteran thinks that idea is completely out of his mind. Pointing at the monster right behind them, the mentor questions whether the kid can really see that golden glow in the stone. His confirmation comes out firm, noting that even though the gem is smaller than the others, the detail is clearly visible right there. Lucas picks up that the kid is telling the truth and starts going over it, wondering if there's something there that only the boy can see. Lucas scratches his head, resigning himself to the kid's stubbornness as he beams with excitement to examine that item up close. Lucas accepts the plan right away and asks what needs to be done, hearing from the kid that the strategy is to immobilize the beast so he can use the wind gem and wrap things up. Without wasting time, the veteran launches the wind spell from above, genuinely impressed by the boy's sharp thinking and using his head to solve that tough situation. With a shout, the man commands the wind binds to lock the beast inside an intense barrier. Lucas shouts the kid's name as the wind binds tighten their grip around the massive wolf. Visualizing the flow of energy, the boy focuses all his attention on the grimoire to manipulate the magical force coming from that stone. Pressing his hands to the ground, he channels every drop of energy to turn the soil around the target into fine sand. Floating up above, the mentor holds firm while keeping the wind prison under total control. Sweating from the extreme effort, the kid channels every last drop of energy he has to break that rock down into pure dust. With nowhere to escape, the ground loses its consistency and the beast's legs sink straight into that quicksand trap. Howling in desperation, the creature tries to break free, but the magic keeps it locked in place right in the middle of that storm. Pressing his finger over the water gem, he gets ready to activate the next phase of the plan. A rush of water crashes down all at once, drenching everything below. Water pours from above with full force, turning the dry ground into a heavy swamp that pins the beast right there. With a precise movement, he pulls the water to lock the beast's legs completely in that mud. All that mix of mud and water spreads, leaving the monster with no reaction to the hits coming its way. Giving the signal, the man sends the command for his partner to wrap up the job. Up above, Lucas conjures a powerful wind blade to deliver the decisive blow to the monster. Aim locked in, he points his finger and fires the slicing blast straight at the target. But the impact against the beast's forehead barely registers, repelled instantly by the insane resistance of that hide. Shock takes over Lucas's face as he notices that magic didn't even leave a scratch on the creature. Pure desperation hits Lucas, who can't even process how completely useless that strike turned out to be. Frustrated by the situation, the tutor points out that the beast's structure is way too solid to be beaten using only the wind element. That conclusion leaves Lucas in agony, since not even his sharpest cut managed to do anything to the beast. Scanning the tray, he checks every mystical gem looking for a new strategy to get the job done. Zeroing in on the red gem, the kid finally accepts that wind alone is going to do nothing here. Shouting to the mentor, he insists for that same slicing strike from before to be used again. Even finding the request odd, Lucas agrees right away and conjures those air currents once more. Finger pressed on the fire slot in the grimoire, he immediately figures out that melting something this resistant is going to take extreme heat. The crystal starts glowing like crazy, releasing a wave of purely destructive flames. Focused, he wonders if he can actually fuse his own heat with his partner's hurricane. Holding the spell steady up above, the man reaches out his hand trying to align his own magic with Lucas's. Eyes wide, the veteran watches as the intense flames immediately merge with that spiral of wind. Concentrated, the boy forces the flames and the storm to fuse together to amplify the attack. Agonized howls tear through the battlefield as the monster feels the unbearable heat burning its own flesh. Lucas channels every last drop of energy in the grimoire to hold this fusion together for just a few more seconds. Shouting with everything he has, the boy tells the mentor to release the final strike right now. Without hesitating, the veteran nods and fires that blazing wind blade straight at the beast's neck. The blade cuts clean through the beast, sending sparks flying in every direction. From that impact, the crystal lodged in the beast's forehead breaks loose and goes flying, still throwing off sparks in the middle of all that dust. That gem gets launched into the air, spinning wildly as the creature falls apart beneath it. The remains of that creature crumble into pure dust, disappearing into the air as the wind sweeps away everything that's left. With a powerful push off his boots, he leaps nimbly off that wooden platform. Lucas flashes a proud smile at the success of the strike, but freezes almost immediately when he notices the unexpected reaction from the other guy. A shout echoes from above, revealing the man's desperation as he watches the kid throw himself into the open air without a second thought. Stretching his body through the air, the kid dives toward the open sky to grab the falling crystal. Hands reaching up, he gets ready to catch the gem as the village comes into view far below. Crystal secured in his grip, he flashes a massive grin of pure victory for finally completing the mission. Plummeting in freefall, the boy shouts at the top of his lungs, celebrating that the monster has finally been taken down. Floating just above, the partner watches everything in disbelief as the kid admires the monster's core in the palm of his hand. Lucas takes stock of the situation and concludes that in pure skill, the kid is already at the level of a mid-rank mage. Landing precisely nearby, the mentor takes note of how the boy syncs completely different elements together with a remarkable ease. That natural genius for combat, showing up right in the heat of the moment, leaves the veteran completely floored. A smirk gives away that he can barely believe the apprentice he just found. Energized with the gem in his hand, the kid bounces to his feet while the partner just watches from a distance trying to make sense of what's going on. Eyes lighting up with excitement, he holds up the gem and makes it clear that item is hiding a golden power deep inside. Curiosity takes over the scene as the ally crouches down to inspect up close why that light is so faint. Fixing his gaze on the scarlet gem, he tries to uncover the secret behind that strange energy. Lucas admits he can't see anything and says he'll clear that doubt with the master as soon as they get back. Comments come up about how, if that gem hides an ancestral magic, its power is perfectly suited to forge a legendary weapon. Village guards appear at the top of the stairway shouting, anxious to know if everyone made it out okay from that whole situation. The veteran answers the guards, letting them know the situation is under control, and immediately asks if anyone from the village ended up getting hurt in the chaos. That expression of calm quickly shifts into visible tension on the boy's face as he looks off into the distance with a deep sense of unease. Walking in silence beside his companion, the kid keeps his mind somewhere far away, processing that something very strange just happened. Memories drift through the boy's mind as he walks among the guards, feeling as if someone is calling out to him. Mysterious whispers echo in his mind, carrying the end of a name that feels strangely familiar. A strong vibration rises in the boy's chest and an intense glow begins escaping from under his jacket. Lucas taps the boy on the shoulder to pull him out of that deep trance. Right after, the partner suggests checking the gems and the book before they head to the ore, asking if the kid is doing alright. Noticing the boy's hesitation, the veteran simply walks beside him toward the village. A steady gaze reveals the doubt lingering over the boy as his partner quickens the pace toward the village. Activity in the village is lively, with the locals moving around calmly as the two finally reach the entrance of an inn. Moments like this hit deep, showing the joy of a family welcoming their father home safe and sound. Leaning over the table, the tutor checks every detail of the grimoire, confirming for the boy that both the book and the crystals are still completely intact. Curious to know what's inside the bag, the kid asks the tutor if there are big stones in there or just one massive chunk. Completely fired up, the kid can barely contain himself and wants to know right away if the bag is full of big stones or if there's one giant block inside. Heart racing, the boy rushes ahead, ignoring Lucas's Lucas's reminders to keep it together. A sharp cry from an old man cuts the walk short, commanding the two to stop right where they are. Staff in hand and patience long gone, the elder storms toward them, forbidding any entry into the mine to keep whatever fury is inside from getting out of control. Confused by the ban, the guy looks at the elder and immediately asks who this Lord Aonima is supposed to be. Right as the top, the old man makes it clear that this entity is the legendary guardian of the forest who has lived there since the beginning of time. Watching the old man with complete seriousness, both mages just take in that explanation without showing any reaction. Trying to calm the elder, the young man holds his arm but ends up getting shoved away by someone still insisting that the demon attack is the fault of the younger generation's lack of respect. With no other option, the guy turns to his partner and admits they need to move on the plan right now. Using the chaos to their advantage, the two ignore the elder's complaints and clear out of there as fast as possible. Heading into the depths, the two descend that wooden staircase toward the unknown waiting for them in the mine. Looking around, the boy takes in that cavernous space as Lucas theorizes that the creature mentioned must be a phantom beast. During the walk, the mentor explains to the boy that these legendary creatures don't belong to either the animal or the demon group. That confusing classification leaves the kid puzzled, trying to understand how something can exist without fitting into any of those categories. The topic of magic stones gets the boy completely fired up, eyes shining with curiosity. Lucas adds that the legends say these creatures live for over 1,000 years, command ancient magics, and are scattered across many corners of the continent. An old map appears on screen, marking several mysterious points across the continent where these rare beings likely still live in hiding. Lantern in hand, the tutor leads the way through the cave, while the kid wonders if any of those legendary beings might be somewhere nearby. Stopped at the entrance, the two observe the silence of that cave while weighing the real possibility of a legendary creature being somewhere inside. The partner mentions that if something is in there, it's most likely an unregistered phantom beast, but warns the boy not to get his hopes up about running into one right away. Pointing upward with that side smirk, he notes that these beings are treated like actual gods by those who truly understand the subject. A look of total confusion takes over the boy's face as the partner continues explaining that these beasts follow their own impulses and only pay attention to specific mages. Ancient legends say these creatures grant a unique gift to whoever they choose to bless. Lucas quickly adds that while there are accounts of this, many people treat the story as a legend due to the lack of concrete records. Reflecting on the whole conversation, the boy goes back to thinking about that so-called deity and tries to process every detail he heard. Picturing what a body entirely shaped from magic stones might look like, the guy tries to visualize that unique form with all the curiosity he can gather. Pondering the longevity of these creatures, the boy wonders if they might be the key to uncovering the true origin of those ores. Could that mysterious whisper have come from one of these creatures? While Lucas points out they finally reached their destination, an intense blue light glows from deep within the cave, leaving Lucas completely speechless. His gaze gets lost in the reflection of that glow, hypnotized by the singular beauty radiating from the crystals. Walking toward the source of that glow, the two come face to face with a wall covered in magic crystals that light up the entire space. Driven by curiosity, the kid rushes ahead to examine the gem up close and lets out a compliment about its extraordinary glow. Pressing his finger against the sharp tip, the boy confirms that this is indeed a legitimate magic stone. Fascination takes over his expression as he takes in that treasure that seems to radiate a one-of-a-kind energy. Making things easier, the partner notices that the golden light makes examining that crystal vein far simpler. Lucas takes the chance to compliment the boy, pointing out that those without this gift have to rely on special tools. A strange buzzing cuts through the boy's mind, and a faint whisper keeps desperately calling out for help. Startled by the sound, the boy immediately turns his face trying to find out where that strange call is coming from. That desperate voice keeps insisting, making the boy lock his gaze on the cave floor, trying to track down the source of the call. The floor gives way in an instant, and the kid drops through, leaving the veteran up above in a panic, screaming his name. Desperate, he tries to grab onto the air as he plummets straight into the darkness. Maximum speed is the only thing he feels as he falls into the abyss with nothing to hold onto. The impact against the hard ground hits brutally, forcing the kid to rub his face while letting out a pained groan from the fall. Opening his eyes, the kid faces something beyond understanding, with the reflection of intense lights taking over everything he can see. Massive crystal formations rise before the boy, flooding the hidden space with a blinding glow. Walking dazed through the sanctuary, he tries to make sense of what's going on in that strange place. Golden symbols begin floating through the air, leaving the kid in complete shock as he realizes that entire place is built entirely from magic stones. Looking carefully, he becomes convinced that the space is packed with pure, concentrated energy. focused on the details of that vision. The boy can barely believe the beauty laid out right before his eyes. Down below, the boy shouts out to check if Lucas is okay, while the mentor responds that he is and tries to shake off the scare from up at the top of the hole. Following the instructions, the partner tells him to wait while he finds a way down, and the kid notices the blue light surrounding him growing in intensity. A strange sound cuts the silence, putting the boy on full alert as he picks up suspicious movement coming from deep within that light. A massive silhouette appears from behind the crystals, leaving the kid completely frozen, unable to make sense of what's happening. A gigantic creature with a horn and a fishtail emerges majestically in the middle of that current of crystal-clear water, eyes wide open. The boy tries to figure out if that thing is actually alive or just some kind of illusion. Slowly, the creature draws closer and, in a serene voice, mentions that it senses a nostalgic scent coming from the kid. Hesitating out of caution, the kid keeps his distance. But the entity quickly reassures him that there's no reason to be on guard. That entity explains that it is nothing more than an ancient soul, which leaves the kid unsettled by the voices echoing directly inside his head. Looking more carefully at the creature's body, the boy realizes with a start that its entire structure is made entirely of mystical gems. Recalling the legends he heard on the surface, he questions whether he's really face to face with a legendary phantom beast. With a slow, serene blink, the deity calmly confirms that is indeed its title. Memories of old tales pass through the boy's mind as he wonders if this entity is really the same one that drew him there. The entity reveals it drew closer, pulled by a nostalgic scent, and poses the question of whether the boy can see the same world it sees through those new eyes. Serious, the beast confesses that long ago this world was full of people just like him, but it hasn't crossed paths with anyone like that in centuries. Falling silent, the boy tries to absorb the weight of those words while staring at the monumental creature before him. Focusing his gaze, he wonders if that entity is talking specifically about the golden markings that appear on his hands. Strange marks come to life, floating between the boy's fingers as the energy stirs awake. With a mocking laugh, the guardian questions whether the kid really thinks that's just ordinary light. That crystal whale explains right off the bat that this is an ancient magic and questions whether the kid is really that out of the loop on it. This vision reveals the flow of mana that has kept the power sealed within the stone since ancient times, leaving the boy puzzled about why no one else can see it. Being a mystery, he mentions that an old acquaintance used to call this power a divine gift to the universe's chosen ones. The colossal creature confirms that's exactly what it heard a very long time ago while calmly watching the boy. Looking at his own body, he thoughtfully repeats those words about being someone so cherished by creation. A smirk forms at the corner of the boy's mouth, as if finally accepting that strange destiny of his. Right after, he stretches out his arm to touch the surface of that powerful barrier. At the touch of his fingers, a cold sensation runs across the boy's skin, revealing that place is charged with a very different kind of energy. A wave of chills climbs up his arm as he notices how the structure vibrates, feeling like dense, icy water flowing between his fingers. Both hands press against the cold surface and he feels an immediate relief wash through his entire body. Enchanted by what he sees, the boy lets out a calm smile, recognizing the one-of-a-kind beauty of that creature. A burst of energy takes over the space, making the boy stumble back in shock from the impact of that powerful wave. The creature thanks him for the compliment and admits it's never heard anything like it, so it promises to brag to the 7 stellar kings the next time it meets them. Confused by the strange term, the boy fires off a direct question, trying to understand what that means. The beast clarifies that they command a top tier of ancient creatures, acting as noble kings who shine just like the stars themselves. These beings are the pillars holding the world together, leaving the boy speechless at the idea that 7 even more powerful guardians exist out there. With a heavy sigh, the guardian mentions it has been an eternity since the last time it gathered with that group. Right after, the giant notices it said too much to someone who just woke up and admits that age is catching up, which leaves the boy a little caught off guard. That massive creature warns that it's time to return to deep sleep, leaving the boy intrigued about where exactly these guardians reside. Head down, the kid reflects on the true meaning of that ancient magic mentioned by the gigantic being. An intense energy appears from nowhere, forcing the young man to react immediately to protect himself. Legends guarantee that if the kid holds on to this special site, his path and the paths of the kings will definitely cross. Promises about those sovereigns guiding the boy to the source of all power echo in his mind as he repeats every word in complete shock. Following the guide's advice, the boy reaches out his arm to seek answers directly from the divine beings. A transcendental energy manifests, marking the beginning of the journey he must face on his own. Light explodes before the kid as he tries to master the complex spell passed down by the deity. That scale carries centuries of pure mana, leaving the boy stunned as he questions whether the object is actually a magic gem. The Guardian's voice echoes firmly, stating that the guy is simply blessed by the universe and will handle this mission without breaking a sweat. Everything trembling around him, the beast assures the kid he'll reach his destiny before vanishing into the darkness. Eyes fixed on nothing, the boy absorbs every detail about this mysterious primordial stone. Reaching his arm into that rush of energy, the boy shouts at the being to wait because he still has way too many questions. That creature vanishes into thin air, and the boy stands there scratching his head without understanding a thing about that ore. An intense flash takes over the cave, and the kid has to cover his face to protect himself from that blinding light. Holding that glowing fragment tight, the kid screams for Lucas Valen at the top of his lungs as the flash fades. Lucas Valen comes running through the dark with a lantern in hand, relieved to have finally found the boy. Looking around, he freezes in shock, seeing that the massive chamber once packed with crystals has completely vanished. With a jolt, he spins his neck, trying to find any trace of that place that simply disappeared off the map. Surrounded by the darkness of the mine, the kid faces an environment that now holds nothing but ordinary coal and dirt. Sensing a strange presence, the kid figures out that the beast is still there, just deep in sleep somewhere in a very secret hiding spot within that mine. Lucas stares at the precious stone with curiosity written all over his face, immediately asking what the kid is actually holding in his hand. Stumbling a bit over his words, the kid explains that it's a gift left behind by a phantom beast. That information leaves the partner completely baffled while the boy just tries to explain it the best he can, a little flustered. Trying to find a way to explain the whole mess, the kid completely freezes while trying to organize his thoughts. Next, the focus shifts to the massive magic tower where the duo arrives to report back on the mission. Careful examinations are carried out by the white-bearded master, who quickly determines it's a demon core and the rare gift of a legendary creature. All that beauty impresses the old man, while Lucas takes the chance to ask if he wants the full mission report right now. But the veteran cuts the conversation short, says to hand in only the basic reports, and warns that he'll personally handle reporting everything to the higher-ups about the beast and the gems. Curious about the call, the boy immediately turns to hear what the master has to say. The master explains that the scale is a divine gift, and tells the boy to polish the piece and turn it all into a very special gem. Excited about the possibility, the boy immediately asks the master to teach him how to use the polishing tools. Something distracts the kid, making the master demand his attention right away with a very direct question. That simple mention of the magic book makes the kid's eyes light up with pure excitement. In the blink of an eye, the boy dashes off and leaves the blonde one completely speechless at the sudden move. Bolting down the corridor, the boy shouts for the master to keep up while getting pumped to finally get his hands on that magic manual. Lucas chases after him, desperately begging him to stop, but the kid keeps going with that huge grin on his face, completely tuning out the poor guy's panic. The tower reception finally comes into view, and the duo pulls up to the front desk to talk to the staff members. With a look full of determination, he celebrates internally, knowing he's about to get his hands on exactly what he's been wanting. They arrive before a massive gate wrapped in chains, where two guards dressed in black stand watch over that hidden entrance. The heavy metal lock lets out that dry click as it slowly swings open. A crack opens slowly, revealing the kid's tense face peering from the other side. Anxious doesn't even begin to describe what's going through his head as he takes everything in through that narrow gap. A massive library stretches out before him, filled with shelves that seem to go on forever. Suddenly, the shrill sound of bells echoes through the air, signaling that something is about to begin. The young man hands over an important document, leaving the girl completely surprised. Golden gears start spinning, moving the mechanism at a frantic pace. Now, everyone stares at the giant book, wondering who the chosen one will be. But the mood gets heavy because no one believes the new slave even made it into the contest. Surrounded by several students, he stands his ground while the group checks out the area. Meanwhile, everyone mocks his luck, but the tome's glow suggests something else entirely. Explaining the situation, he brings up the Memoria records and the book's mysterious shine. And that's where it gets crazy. The girl stares at him holding the papers, struggling to believe his wild idea. Afterwards, the trio reaches a massive locked door holding hands. He immediately asks with suspicion if the grimoire is hidden somewhere in there. Confirming his guess, the guy points to the library of grimoires, where everything is managed. Keeping it real, the short-haired boy breaks the silence, catching Alan's attention. There, the ceremony rules become clear. The book chooses its owner, and touching it is off limits. Doubling down on the warning, he says if the grimoire doesn't choose him, he leaves empty-handed. Visibly shaken by the news, he questions if he's really going to walk away with nothing. The blonde guy shows off the access pass and explains that's the only way to get inside. With the pass in hand, a blinding light bursts from the pass passage, opening the path for them. Right as there's that, the young man warns that inexperienced mages don't stand a chance with these books. Continuing the warning, he mentions that anyone who fails will have to restart their training from scratch. But for those who keep pushing, the place lets you try again. Suddenly, the blonde guy cuts the talk and hands something important to the kid. Curious, he stares at that glowing orb, asking what in the world it is. Out of nowhere, the thing sprouts wings and flies off, leaving the kid totally stunned. No one saw that coming. His partner explains it's just a magic gadget to keep tabs on everything from afar. As the little watcher hits the skies, a golden glow lights up the whole scene. Taking advantage of the moment, the group says the footage should already be reaching Memoria. Sensing the tension, the blonde guy tells him to just chill out. Keeping a calm vibe, the blonde guy flashes an encouraging smile before heading out. With the mysterious look, the dark-haired guy wishes his partner good luck. Right after that, the focus shifts to a sleek black boot stepping firmly onto the floor. Walking through aisles packed with books, he seems to be hunting for something specific, but the library silence has him stumped, and that's where it gets good. He's wondering what's actually going on. Then, a winged object floats nearby while he picks up on a weird presence. Suddenly, he notices an intense glimmer coming from a shelf and mutters, "I get it." Checking out the shelves, he explains that not everything there is magic, pointing at the light. Glued to the blinding glow, the young woman watches the light open up in the library. On high alert, he repeats the warning not to touch anything, even though he seems to doubt it. Completely lost, he crosses his arms and vents about how to find the truth. Startled by a sudden movement right next to him, he blurts out, "What is that?" Catching sight of something ominous in the shadows, he widens his eyes and whispers, "A demon." Noticing a weird vibe in the air, she narrows her eyes and mutters that something shifted. Emerging from the glow, a wolf with light fur and a shining symbol on his forehead appears. Mesmerized by the seal's glimmer, the guy freezes for a second, locking eyes with the mythical beast. That's when he shouts a warning, trying to stop the wolf as it charges across the room. Moving with agility, he bolts toward the intense light at the end of the library. Desperate to get away, he sprints through hallways filled with ancient books. Stopping in the middle of all those books, he spots a strange light and pauses, curious. Facing the intense brightness, the kid stares down the mystical wolf standing between the shelves. Totally caught off guard, he gasps out loud while watching that wild scene. With a fixed, piercing gaze, the creature lets out a howl that echoes through the room. Visibly confused, he locks up, having no clue what to think or do next. Calmly, the majestic beast closes its eyes, giving off an aura of pure serenity. And that's where it gets good. A violet flash explodes on its forehead, revealing a glowing seal. And just like that, magic energy wraps around him, creating bonds of light. Paralyzed, he stares wide-eyed, trying to process all that strange magic. Suddenly, a blast of power shoves him backward, lifting him off the ground. Thrown against the library floor, he completely loses his balance. Soon, a tiny magical orb with wings appears, hovering over the room. High above, a pulsating book emerges with an intense, mysterious glow. Meanwhile, the crowd starts panicking, questioning just how much power that slave is packing. Facing such chaos, the spectators are stunned, admitting they've never seen anything like it. A scholar studies the glow, suspecting it might be ancient magic. Gazing upward, the boy stands paralyzed, locked onto that floating magical object. Looking like he's got it all figured out, the kid spreads his arms, totally intrigued. Next, he holds the grimoire firmly under an intense magical aura. With wide eyes, the boy seems hypnotized by the light, barely believing it. Feeling the energy vibrate, he just whispers, "I can feel it," while the book shines. Then he notices a magical pulse, almost like the mana itself is alive. Wrapped in that massive shadow, he hugs himself, tense and on high alert. Staring at that radiant winged orb, he asks in disbelief if he finally found his grimoire. Clutching the ancient book, he smiles with a serene glow in his eyes, completely taken in. And that's where it gets crazy. A giant projection rises over the group, leaving everyone speechless. Seeing the kid's absurd level of power, the old mentor admits his potential blew past every expectation. Arriving at the library, the duo finds a figure waiting for them in silence. With contagious excitement, the apprentice shows off the artifact he was searching for. Soon, the sage breaks the silence, revealing he's been following every step they took. Now, the boy hands the book to his master, sealing a crucial deal under the light. Checking out the tome carefully, the sage notes that although it's old, it's a top-tier book. Looking the kid dead in the eyes, he drops a quick warning, "Value this." Suddenly, the vibe shifts as the elder asks him to take a seat. Looking down from above, the scene shows the group gathered around the table. Meanwhile, the kid sips the drink, mentioning how great it smells. And that's where it gets serious, as the master brings up a heavy topic. Staring at the guy with an intense gaze, he looks ready to spill it all. In a firm tone, the old man demands the boy repeat what the creature said. Letting his guard down, the boy thinks back on the mysterious beast's whisper. Suddenly, the image glows with magic, showing that creature covered in scales. Revealing the truth, the reflection shows him seeing what others can't. Continuing the story, he admits the 7 Star Kings are meant to be his his guide. Noticing the hesitation, the mentor figures it's time for the hard truth, even if it's early. Then the legend explains that the 7-star kings are famous mythical beasts. Just like that, the magic map expands, showing the 5 great lands of this world. Keeping the explanation going, the mentor points out one mythic creature rules each domain. Doing the math, the boy frowns, wondering why they only mention 5. As for the other 2, he explains nobody knows their location. Maybe they're just wandering. With a worried look, the kid confesses they searched everywhere but found nothing. Curious now, the boy digs deeper, asking about the very origin of magic. Analyzing the question, the old teacher claims all magic likely comes from the primal mana stone. Blown away by the reveal, the boy repeats the name, trying to grasp the weight of the myth. They say it holds the very first spell ever created, but nobody knows the truth. Just imagine if someone found that primal mana stone and tapped into its hidden power. Keeping a solemn tone, the mentor reflects on secrets that have lasted for centuries. And that's where it gets crazy. A blinding flash erupts from the open book, as if the answer to ancient magic is finally surfacing. Suddenly, the man in glasses breaks the silence, asking if the beast encounter in the mines was a warning about the 7-star kings. Smiling with the mysterious look, he calmly agrees with what he just heard. And just like that, everything changed. He drops the bomb that the boy's destiny is to find the 7-star kings. Clutching the artifact, the kid notices how the stone glows intensely, clearly a sacred gift from a mythical beast. Maintaining his focus on the shimmering gem, he explains that those are the king's stones. Fascinated by the intense glow, the boy feels the power stored inside must be even more cracked. Standing his ground, the young man looks straight at his master and fires off that he's made his decision. Now determined, he declares his plan to become a legendary mage to locate the 7-star kings. With a mischievous grin, he promises he's going to see every magical stone in this world. Seeing the boy's audacity, the old master warns that if that's the plan, he'd better be prepared. Then, the old man reveals a dark secret about the demon invasion on the continent. According to the master, these creatures are hunting the continent's mystical beasts. To make matters worse, he shares that a mystical beast was found defeated in guard territory. Turns out, the elder warns that chasing the 7-star kings will draw out demons, so the boy needs to become the greatest grimoire mage of all. He's holding a radiant magical jewel now, staring at the crystal with a focused look. Approving of the boy's goal, he drops a hint. Why not start by taking the grimoire for repairs at the underground workshop? Lurking in the shadows, the kid notes that's exactly what his master said. Stepping inside, he starts talking to the elf attendant about his gear. Suddenly, the blacksmith walks in, locked in on welding a heavy piece. Walking through the entrance, he's stunned by how massive the workshop is, with crafters everywhere. Watching all the action, he mutters about how vibrant this place actually is. And as for it gets good, the elf catches him off guard, asking if he's here for the book maintenance. Shaken up for a second, he nods and decides to get that book checked out. Inspecting the item, she promises it won't take long and tells him to wait. Surprised, he asks if she can really evaluate the item just by looking at it. Job done. She hands it back, telling him to cherish that precious grimoire, which he promises to do. That's when he notices something off, focusing hard on the shape of her ears. Up close, you can clearly see the earring fixed right on the tip of that pointed ear. Catching his curious stare, she smirks and teases him, asking if he's never seen a woodfolk before. Carrying on, she explains only forest folk master these magic techniques, while stone guards run the workshop. Focused, the smith strikes the bench with a tool, marking the item with perfect precision. No one saw that coming. He realizes those ref stones are actually powerful magic jewels. Glancing at the lantern nearby, he sees they're using fragments not fit for high-tier gems. Just then, he warns the kid not to touch anything, but the boy can barely help himself. Out of nowhere, an idea pops into his head, leaving him deep in thought. Rolling with the conversation, he brings up the legend about the beast in the elf lands. Noticing how curious she is, the guy flashes a grin and asks if she's actually interested. Hyped by the story, he says he's got to meet that beast in person someday. Playing it humble, he claims he doesn't know the technical stuff, pointing to the guardians instead. Confused by the term he just heard, he's left wondering what that's even supposed to mean. Clearing things up, the elf smiles while showing an ancient tome, explaining that her people have members dedicated to protecting the legend. Acting all mysterious, she whispers that those guys know more about the beast than anyone else in the forest. Just then, a pair of gloved hands pops out of nowhere, giving him an insistent poke. Leaning in close, she whispers that he smells pretty good for a human. Caught off guard, he brings a hand to his face, sniffing to see what she's talking about. Finding his confusion funny, she smiles with her eyes closed, keeping the vibe playful. And that's where it gets crazy. She drops the bomb that a single escort can handle everything, leaving him totally skeptical. Giving him an enigmatic smirk, she asks him to keep it quiet, letting out a sigh that leaves him intrigued. Continuing the journey, he kicks back on the roof of the carriage while the convoy keeps rolling. Exhausted, the elf lets out a deep sigh, complaining that this escort job is a total drag. When the driver calls out that they're finally reaching the magic tower, he just grunts once a quick got it from the back. Lying there, he stares at the blue sky, thinking about the destination appearing on the horizon. Surrounded by figures in the trees under the moonlight, he realizes the conversation is officially over. With the atmosphere getting heavy, he faces the ambush, his expression suddenly dead serious. Smirking with pure mockery, the elf appears imposingly under the full moon's glow. Keeping his hands behind his head, he chuckles, making it clear his opponent was nothing but an easy challenge. Looking bored while lying on the ground, the elf shouts out in frustration. Receiving the item, he thanks the guy while being told not to trip. Lifting the ancient tome with a gleam in his eyes, he celebrates the epic find. Suddenly, a feather drifts away as the bird beats its wings and takes flight. Watching the feather float, the scene shifts to an office filled with mysteries. Focused on the blue crystal, he whispers that he's almost done. Pushing the office door open, someone interrupts his work to call for Alan. Seeing the kid exhausted and focused, he points out that the whole night has passed. And just like that, the system alerts them the market is open and they both get hyped. Stepping inside, they come face to face with a bustling, lively market. Wide-eyed at the rows of bottles, he lets out an impressed shout. Fascinated by the variety, they both point at the shelves in excitement. Holding a small magic flame, the young man beams with joy at the result. That's when he remembers the traditional crafts made by the forest people. But losing track of time, he realizes the reason for his visit and says goodbye. Even knowing the forest folk are nearby, something feels off. Making a mysterious gesture, the elf recalls that a powerful guardian should be with the group. Scanning the surroundings, he notices no one there seems to fit the bill. Observing the busy environment, he quickly realizes this place isn't ordinary. Suddenly, the focus shifts to a yellow-feathered creature trapped inside a cage. Staring at the bizarre scene, he wonders if they're actually selling living creatures. Out of nowhere, a massive explosion of fire erupts, spooking the horses. Completely shocked, he frowns and lets out a question about what he's seeing. Yelling a desperate command to flee, the elf pulls the others away. Behind him, a giant wall of smoke rises, forcing the guy to sprint. Glancing back with wide eyes, the boy tries to see if anything made it out. Chills running down his spine, he realizes something is seriously wrong. No one saw that coming. Suddenly, a giant gorilla emerges from the shadows, eyes glowing red with rage. Seeing it, he wonders if it's a Morlock but notices some strange behavior. With a sudden movement, the beast lunges and the crowd scatters in pure panic. Shouting orders, the elf warns everyone to get out of there right now. Blindsided by the chaos, the guide barely hears the elf demanding his attention. Purple energy sparks as the elf yells for water, stunned by the Morlock. Channeling mana, the boy summons a bright magic circle over his book. Letting out a deafening roar, the beast releases a blast of sinister energy. With an agile leap, the elven archer fires a powerful bolt of purple energy. Right then, the boy makes a firm gesture, silencing the elf behind him. Making the ground shake, he summons a tower of flaming rock onto the field. Wielding their bows, the archers spot his outfit and are left totally stunned. With a focused gaze, the kid releases a glowing sphere straight from the buck, turning his head with an intimidating glare. The kid demands an answer right then and there. Cutting in, the elf says thanks but tries to push the boy away from the danger. Reluctantly, he looks away and drops a sarcastic comment. Screaming for focus, the gorilla glares at the archers as they fire volley after volley. Starting to panic, the elf realizes their arrows aren't doing a single thing. Trying to stay cool, the kid hides his nerves, really missing Shumil right now. With panic settling in, he shouts out, asking exactly where the target ran off to. Scanning the area, he gets frustrated, annoyed that the lazy guy is nowhere to be found. And that's where it gets crazy. An urgent warning echoes as the monster unleashes blasts of fire. Barely dodging, the kid dives to the side while the flames scorch the air. Truly impressed, he can't help but let out a quick word of praise. Watching that magic cast at such insane speeds, he's left totally speechless. Stomping down hard, a massive foot lands right on the opponent's head. With ridiculous ease, he bends that massive surge of energy in the air. Keeping the momentum going, he lands a brutal blow of raw energy onto the monster. And just like that, everything changed. He reveals his grimoire with a confident grin. With surgical precision, his fingers placed a glowing gem onto the surface. Moving in a flash, he fires a direct strike that tears through the air. High above, the sky swirls into a massive water vortex while the beast watches, tense. Suddenly, a blinding magical glow wraps around his hand as he shows off the powerful ring. A surge of water and earth crushes the monster without mercy. Shocked, the boy stares wide-eyed as the water magic spins all around him. Panicking, both elves notice the monster's control over the sand and start screaming. And that's where it gets crazy. A dark sandstorm towers behind the gorilla, ready to strike. Staying calm, the young man opens the ancient grimoire grimoire and starts casting his spell. Desperate, the elf widens his eyes and lets out a cry for help. Suddenly, a massive explosion devastates the structure ahead, leaving the two elves stunned. With one precise move, he summons a torrent of water that leaves the opponent paralyzed with fear. Blown away by that much power, the elves watch in disbelief as this human goes to work. Wrapped in the water he manipulates, the lad keeps his gaze fixed, calm, and lethal. Focused on how the fight is unfolding, the elf tracks everything with total attention. Letting out a mocking chuckle, the long-haired elf watches the chaos take over. Leaping into the air, the archer fires an arrow while the mage dominates the battlefield. Trying to contain the creature with his spellbook, he sighs, frustrated with the fight. Blasting intense flames from the book, he gives the enemy no room to breathe. Pointing at the target, he releases a flash of energy that covers the entire area. Aiming right where the energy is densest, he readies a pinpoint strike. Surrounded by a heavy magical aura, the young man stays locked in on the combat. Eyes wide, he catches the danger coming straight for him. No one saw that coming. The gorilla opens its mouth and fires a beam of green energy at the castle. Taking the hit, the mage shields himself with his book as debris flies everywhere. Right behind him, the elf appears with a mysterious smirk and says, "Not bad, kid." Completely caught off guard, he freezes up while the elf mocks him with a calming gesture. Looking him over, the elf wonders how he's so different from the rest. Seeing the kid's shock, the elf just waves and jokingly asks if he got scared. Facing the elf head-on, our hero finally realizes who it is. Shumia. With a sly grin, the elf points at his ally and confirms it. He's the guardian. The group interrupts, demanding answers while our hero offers his thanks. In a blur of movement, he calls out to his partner, instantly grabbing the elf's attention. Suddenly, someone yanks the elf's hood, forcing him to turn around fast. Annoyed, the elf gets scolded, but tries to keep his cool with a smirk. Even while being chewed out, the elf keeps laughing and tells everyone to chill. Exhausted, he lets out a frustrated rant at the people bothering him. Clearly annoyed, he points out how ridiculous this is, asking if they have any idea how dangerous this is. The other elves look confused, pausing everything to see what's going on. And just like that, he drops the sarcasm and gives a straight-up compliment on the kid's strength. Watching the boy's reaction, the blonde guy smirks, finding it all pretty interesting. A massive creature emerges, blocking the view of everyone at the fair. Stunned as he recognizes the elf, the boy can barely believe his eyes. With a look full of mystery, he locks eyes on the target, staying completely focused. Facing that massive threat, the group freezes as they sense a dark, eerie aura. Carrying his injured partner, the elf takes a desperate leap to get away. Mid-air, he throws out a comment, clearly impressed by the kid's stamina. Apologizing while pulling the boy along, he yells for the chasers to back off. Wrapped in a thick, dark aura, the monster lets out an overwhelming blast of power. And that's where it gets crazy. Shocked to see the boy still standing, the elf tosses a snarky remark about such audacity. With a look of pure disdain, he decides this was exactly what he expected. Now staring down the duo, the creature lets out a cold call for the boy. The elf steps up to provide cover, urging the kid to wrap this up fast. Proposing a trade, he makes it clear that something big is on the way. Flashing a smirk, he promises to hear it all once the chaos settles. Sporting a confident look, he wears that smirk that gives it all away. Facing the rush, he glares at the danger below and issues a bold challenge. With a gleam in his eyes, he celebrates the chance to finally learn more about the beasts. Pressing his finger against the magic circle, he activates the item right on time. Caught completely off guard, he barely reacts to the sudden surge of water. No one saw that coming. Raising his arm firmly, he demands the rival show the true power of the grimoire. Delegating the task, he flashes a smirk while controlling the water nearby. Feeling the magic flow rising, he struggles to hold back that insane power. Unveiling his own creation, he shows off the grimoire with a look of pure satisfaction. Summoning a water blast, he strikes the creature, popping up in his path. Caught off guard, the elf freezes as the water rushes forward. Watching the fight closely, both elves stand paralyzed by the magical torrent. In a violent collision, darkness merges with the water for a devastating impact. And that's where it gets crazy. Channeling his remaining energy, he shouts a final challenge and charges again. Shattering the barrier, the elemental fusion sweeps the area with brutal force. The monster gets swallowed by the surge, while high above, the duo watches it all. With a cynical smirk, the elf comments on how merciless that display was. Up there, the pair breaks the silence with a direct call to the beast. Pointing at the target, they spot the weak point in that pulsing aura. Thrown back violently, the colossus loses control amidst the torrent. Seizing the opening, the elf keeps his calculating eyes fixed on the exposed red core. No one saw that coming. Gripping his weapon tight, a brilliant energy erupts with full intensity. Wasting no time, the elf lunges forward, his body glowing intensely. In a flash, the energy sparks into lightning, striking the core with everything he's got. Falling backward, the monster watches the red orb floating right above. Eagerly, the elf looks up and fires off the question he can't hold back anymore. In one brutal motion, the giant body falls apart, and those red masses break free. Now the to analyze the open book, trying to figure out what's going on. Right before him, the creature dissolves, launching several jelly-like spheres into the air. Meanwhile, a dark tentacle melts, dripping some weird liquid onto the floor. Sensing imminent danger, the elves panic and shout for everyone to retreat. Desperate, they turn their backs and run as that grotesque mass surges forward. Focusing his gaze, he spots something glowing like a power is awakening right now. And just like that, a red energy blast fills the scene, forcing the group to flee. Raising his hand, he conjures a powerful water sphere that explodes in front of them. Now, the water vortex spins at full force, surrounding the elves and causing chaos. Relieved that the whirlwind has stopped, they catch their breath and wonder if it's over. Stretching out his arm with a calm look, he invites his opponent to bring it on. Continuing the work, he uses magic to move the wood with ease. Right after, he extends his hand and manipulates the water with precise control. Studying the curious item in his palm, he reflects on what it actually is. Staring at the object covered in thorns, a strange wave of nostalgia hits him. Showing brutal marks on their chests, the creatures reveal weird glowing crystals. Suddenly, the elf appears out of nowhere and grabs our lead, teasing his height. And it gets worse. The elf won't let go while our hero struggles to break free. With a serene smile, the elf asks him about that special favor. Then, he drops the act and demands to know everything about the king of mythical beasts. Driven by curiosity, the elf pressures the guy to describe that mysterious individual's look and powers. Super hyped, the elf insists on knowing how to find him, leaving the guy totally confused. Staring him down, the elf keeps that fixed gaze, waiting for an answer. Awkwardly, the elf starts petting the guy's hair like he's just a little kid. Totally thrown off, our hero wonders if all elves are this weird with their scent-checking habits. Locking eyes, the elf says he smells like a mythical beast, leaving the poor guy lost. And this is where it gets good. The elf leans in way too close to his face. Picking up a wooden beam, the elf promises to reveal which beast they actually worship. Shifting gears, he moves even closer, wrapping the boy in a protective hug. Meanwhile, a mysterious winged silhouette appears among the leaves, reading past, present, and future. He's the wise king, the being who holds all knowledge of the continent. Suddenly, the elf signals for silence, warning that the omniscient one might be watching. The tall figure halts their chat, looking down while the boy stays crouched. Turns out this sovereign elf knows everything happening in every corner of the world, and that's where it gets crazy. He challenges him to beat the guardians at the 50-year festival to find the king. Thinking it over, the kid notes the next event is still 2 years away. A mysterious grin appears, revealing he's clearly got something up his sleeve. Breaking the tension, the elf drops a snarky comment, proving he's got other schemes. Taking the bait, the young summoner throws down a bold challenge ready to fight, but the elf warns him winning isn't enough. He needs to take on every single guardian. Catching the trap, the boy turns his head with a look that says he isn't buying it. Now the elf lays down the condition. He has 2 years to get way stronger. With a sly smirk, he warns that he's gonna play around with everything he's kept hidden. Next, the elf confronts the kid, throwing shade about that whole invitation. And with eyes full of confidence, he flashes a cryptic, distant smile. Just like that, he cuts through the hesitation, swearing the win is already in the bag. In the background, an old man appears, making the elf drop the convo and call for the kid. Suddenly, the boy breaks the silence, calling out to his mentor figure. Walking to the market, the youth finds an experienced man for a quick chat. Checking out the item in the elder's hand, the kid drops a question about the object. Now, the guy asks to hold the piece, getting a nod of approval. And that's where it gets crazy. A familiar face pops out of nowhere, calling the boy by his old name. Totally blindsided, the old man widens his eyes and asks if the kid's part of the guard. Then the elf mocks the old guy, who demands some respect, leaving the boy confused. Turning his head, the dark-haired kid stares at the scene with a cold gaze. Reading the room, the guy admits he competed in the last festival and lost to Shumio. Looking at the kid, the elf starts teasing, asking if he's really the apprentice. Annoyed by the taunting, the elf lets out a mocking laugh right in the elder's face. Suddenly, his superior shows up out of nowhere, complaining about everyone slacking off. In the blink of an eye, the superior bolts from the spot, leaving the kid completely lost. But the young man interrupts the whole thing with a shout, telling them to hold up. Ignoring the yell, the elf leaps nimbly across the city structures, running for his life from his superior. Staying curious, the apprentice asks the elder about the festival. Answering the old man, the guy gives a mysterious smirk, saying, "Got it." Cutting the elder off, the kid keeps it real. Those guardians are totally cracked. Hearing that, the mentor admits he's out of the loop for the event, but trusts the kid. Under his sharp gaze, the elder seems to spot something big on the kid's face. Acting all confident, the guy just goes, "Yeah," showing he doesn't really care. Watching the full moon, the mighty 7-star king appears in the form of an eagle. Zooming in, the creature glows with a sinister look and hints at the coming showdown. A few days pass, and the scene shifts to the main tower's lab. Studying the mystery item, he realizes the material matches the lab's gear perfectly. Keeping the analysis going, the sage figures out that it was planted there on purpose. Suddenly, a serious look hits Alan, warning him the road ahead is going to be intense. Out of nowhere, the old phone on the desk starts ringing, breaking the silence. Answering with a confused look, he asks what's even going on. And just like that, everything changed. He gets an urgent heads up about a demonic army. Clenching his fist over the object, he feels a strange energy leaking from the piece. With the jewel's intense light reflecting off his hands, the guy watches the magic pulse. Flashing a winning smile, he lets out a shout of joy for finally finishing it. Checking out every detail of the crystal, he spots a mystical glow covering everything. Holding the stone, he gets lost in his thoughts about the ancient power inside. Curious about the scene, the light-haired guy walks over and asks to take a look. Then, the blonde kid shoots him a suspicious look, flashing a grin that says he's up to no good. Panicking over the mana, the blonde yells at his partner to stop right now. This is where it gets good. His face lights up with pure, wild excitement. Just like that, the artifact wakes up, casting a vibrant blue glow over all the symbols. Getting a closer look, you can't miss the shock written all over his face. Suddenly, that blue orb explodes right in front of him, leaving him totally confused. With no idea what's happening, the kid just stares at the air while his partner screams. Facing the intense light from the seal, he's left wondering why this is happening. Feeling that crazy vibration, he's dead serious about the power level. Trying to hold the magic back, he complains about how it's slipping through his fingers. Grabbing the object tight, he struggles to keep control as the light breaks free. Facing the struggle, he realizes there's gotta be a trick to handling this thing. Listening to the tutor explain how complex the magic is, he takes on the challenge. Thinking about the danger, he remembers that warning about how tough the beast is. Even wanting to see the spell in action, he knows he's got to deal with something urgent. Suddenly, an alert comes in about the enemy army closing in, calling him to battle. Right then, the master shuts down his plans, insisting he stay behind. Annoyed by the sudden ban, the kid demands to know why he's being ordered around. Breaking the tension, the mentor admits that despite her talent, something feels off. Watching him closely, the kid wonders what's got him so worked up. A new day kicks off as he heads up those sun-drenched stairs. News hits that the relief forces finally reached the southern city. Clearly regretting his choice, he wishes he tagged along with the group. Reaching the front desk, he awkwardly brings up that ID card. Running into the dark-haired guy, he admits he's just not vibing with him. Seizing the moment, she asks if he's getting used to the tower yet. A powerful symbol ignites overhead as they face the library's heavy atmosphere. And that's where it gets crazy. A red alert flares up with an evacuation warning. Totally stunned, they lock eyes, trying to make sense of the chaos. Panicking, the redhead yells at everyone to find the tower master immediately. Despair sets in as they realize not a single person survived the raid. Right then, she apologizes to Alan and urges him to get out fast. With a look full of cold mystery, he stares down his opponent. The air grows heavy as magical warning runes wrap around the trio. Bracing himself, he realizes the intruder might still be lurking nearby. Scanning the room, his eyes widen, hearing a noise at the door. Pushing it open, a fancy, chandelier-lit hallway stretches out before him. Suddenly, a pair of dark, elegant boots steps into view, revealing a presence. And just like that, he cracks a slight smirk, ready to face the mystery figure. Staying hidden, he peeks through a crack at the lone silhouette of a light-haired woman. Zooming in, her bright violet eyes are glowing, scanning every single detail. Letting out a heavy sigh, he stares into the void with a look of pure pain. And that's where it gets crazy. An authoritative voice cuts through the silence, asking what she's doing there. Turning around, the old master reveals a face marked by deep disappointment. Meanwhile, a young guy with a sharp gaze appears, focused on reading an ancient book. Stunned, the elder locks eyes with him, asking if he's that same kid from before. Now, the guy glares at the shrinking girl, saying the slave ruined everything. Feeling the vibe shift, he notices something weird in the air that starts shaking reality itself. Remembering his promise, he knows he has to bring the world back to its rightful place. With an intimidating look, the elder stares him down, claiming he's the chosen one. Shrugging off the pressure, the kid hits back, ready to prove his true worth. In an arrogant tone, the villain says it's an honor to witness the end of everything. Suddenly, a massive wave of water surrounds the guy. No one saw that coming. Enveloped by the currents, he declares himself the strongest existence of them all. Between breaths of tension, the elder claims to be the successor of the seventh star king. A powerful vortex spins around him, sweeping the entire scene away. Dark shadows emerge like tentacles, wrapping him in pure chaos. Just like that, a hole opens up in the ceiling, revealing the protagonist dropping in from above. Exhausted, he sighs in relief while sheathing his blade after the massive impact. Dropping his body to the floor, he finally takes a breather after all that mess. Crouching low, he clutches the book against his chest like his life depends on it. Letting out a manic laugh, his true, unhinged face is finally on full display. Suddenly, he locks eyes with whatever's right in front of him, totally shocked, but his focus gets snatched away by a massive figure questioning who he even is. No one saw that coming. A long-haired monster dives into the abyss while he watches from above. Gripping hard, he exerts insane pressure, crumbling the concrete without breaking a sweat. Leaping through the rubble, he snatches the book, making sure no one gets away. And just like that, an alarm blares while he jumps into the void holding the book tight. Then a command echoes through the device, ordering every mage to defend the capital. Stunned, he stares at the magic book as green energy starts wrapping around him. Blasting toward the castle, he weaves through the gardens under a cloudy sky. Panicking, the boy yells for help as monsters swarm their group in the courtyard. In the blink of an eye, he slices through the enemies, leaving them no chance at all. Keeping up the momentum, he charges across the yard with his grimoire open for business. Blown away by the sight, he lets out a sharp cry of pure disbelief. Total chaos erupts in the square as creatures attack everyone without holding back. With a firm touch, he triggers the grimoire, making the seals glow super bright. Precision cuts shred the monsters midair while the crowd scrambles to escape. Locking in his focus, he channels all his power into the magic book. In a flash, his eyes glow as he feels an intense power surging up. Suddenly, the protagonist is caught off guard by a sharp pain while reading the tome. Staring at the carnage, the evil being claims even beasts become easy targets. Following the winged creature's command, panic hits and the group scrambles to escape. Amidst the chaos, he carries someone while a magic circle appears below. Fire explosions take over everything, forcing the monsters to cry out in agony. Intense flames engulf the mage, who now manifests an impressive surge of magic. Striding firmly through the blaze, his heavy footsteps echo with a clear threat. With a fixed gaze and glowing red eyes, the elder emanates a terrifying aura. Surrounded by flames, he opens the book and locks eyes with his foe. The duel begins. Watching the elder up high, he stays sharp despite the roaring fire. And just like that, waves of green energy swirl, scattering the monsters across the sky. Trying to strike back, the boy opens his grimoire and fires a spell at the goblins. Now the flames take the shape of giant claws, launching the monsters into the air. Laughing with disdain at the source, the villain taunts while the youth prepares a counter. No one saw that coming. He stays calm, retorting with a smirk and reminding his opponent of their past defeat. Even under fire, the elder drops a sharp comeback while keeping his cool. Impacting square, a massive log hits the creature's face midair. Worried about his student, the master pops up out of nowhere and calls out to check on him. That's where it gets good, as a bystander recognizes the grimoire and panics, locking eyes with the new rival. Floating above the fountain, a demonic figure radiates a scary crimson power. Panicking, the group realizes Malik escaped and tells the apprentice to get back. Suddenly, the protagonist bumps into a student and the impact knocks their books over. Hovering over the fountain, the snobby guy looks down on the kid, treating him like trash. Channeling sinister energy, a black aura wraps around the elder's chest where a red core glows bright, and no one saw that coming. The student freezes, eyes wide, spotting something strange. With a precise click, he slots the gem into the circular mechanism. Soon, thorny vines spread out, as he claims no one here stands a chance. Just then, a group of mages opens colorful rune circles and starts the attack. Elemental explosions of fire and water collide with the vines midair. And just like that, the impact is brutal, creating a massive blast of flame and magic. Amidst the chaos, the boy keeps a calm and confident look on his face. Under the impact, the creature is shattered into pieces by all that power. Emerging now, a single-horned being shows off a creepy grin and glowing eyes. Suddenly, a deep slash tears through the scene with intense dark energy. With that head, the warriors fall at his feet, completely taken out. Focusing on the entity's face, the red glow in its eyes reveals an intimidating power. Analyzing the scene, the boy panics, seeing the monster heal from a direct hit. Then, a glowing, spiky sphere appears between two hands, raising a huge question about what that thing really is. Noticing something odd, the protagonist locks eyes on the spot, totally confused. Right after, the wound on the creature's shoulder leaks dark liquid and crystals. Holding that spiky artifact, he finally guessed the whole picture. Clutching the magic sphere with thorny claws, the creature projects a tense aura. Acting cocky, it lets out a dismissive monologue, mocking the item's worth. Punching with raw energy, he shatters what looks like a barrier. Furious, the boy lets out an angry shout, pointing his finger right at him. Then, the monster stretches a cold hand with sharp claws, channeling a blue glow. Even surrounded by thorny vines, the protagonist ignores the danger, surprised by how easy it was. And with an intense flash in his palm, he shows off his new spiky weapon. Surrounded by giant thorns, she summons a colossal bolt of lightning and promises destruction. Wearing a cold smile, the villain threatens to burn everything to the ground after winning. Under a sky filled with flaming orbs, she vows to wipe out every single beast. With the battlefield burning and the sky darkening, he claims he'll be the only king of the 7 stars. Seeing the damage, they lose their cool and declare that the end of human nations has arrived. And just like that, one of them refuses to back down, gathering glowing energy in his palm. With light beaming from the ring, he makes a ruthless promise to his enemy. Staying focused, the boy opens his ancient grimoire, prepping a new spell. Enraged, the long-haired being finds himself surrounded by thorns and yells out his arrogance. With surgical precision, he touches the shimmering artifact to trigger his new power. Now, keeping his head in the game, the kid opens his grimoire and signals his departure. As the impact rocks the background, he summons the power of the 7-star king. Taunting him, the light-haired being dares the wounded kid to keep going. Feeling that intense pressure, the boy is shocked by such raw energy. And that's where it gets crazy. The power explodes, snaking through infinite space. Suddenly, a mechanical sound echoes as the book reveals a core of white. Taking control, the caster unleashes a cosmic torrent that lights up the area. Wielding sharp claws, the light-haired villain feels invincible and attacks. Now, the dark-haired youth conjures magic thorns right before the structure. With a swift strike, he cuts through the air, shattering the thorny barriers. Watching in total shock, the boy sees a star-forged creature loom over him. In a solemn tone, he calls up for help from that powerful cosmic entity. As the artifact beams, mystical energy takes shape in the sky. Floating in the void, the lead character manipulates the swirling magic flows. No one saw that coming. A giant eye appears on the horizon, showing a galaxy in its iris. Making a precise gesture, the youth masters the blue energy hovering before him. Despite the weight of that massive power, the boy decides to push forward. Determined, he channels all of the blue energy, swearing he'll master it completely. Suddenly, the magic seal cracks open, revealing ancient symbols around the crystal. And just like that, a mysterious smirk hits his face, signaling big trouble. Wrapped in that blue energy spiral, he begins invoking his ultimate power. Then, a blinding light hits the opponent, making him lose his cool instantly. Stunned by the glare, the two guys watch it all go down in shock. And just like that, everything changed. He's got this glow in his eyes, realizing he's reached his peak. Now, he conjures a massive narwhal made entirely of crystal clear water. Suddenly, the group freezes, jaw dropped as thorns start taking over the field. Panicking, the healers scramble to reach the wounded scattered across the ground. Facing that dark shadow, the trio freezes up, barely believing their eyes. Stuck in total shock, she stares at the scene, tears welling up in her eyes. Descending from the clouds, the water creature shines bright, leaving everyone amazed. Confused by the trap, the opponent can't react while the thorns hold him tight. No one saw that coming. The horned villain is stunned, struggling to process the scene. Feeling an insane weight, he's barely standing, fighting off pure exhaustion. Crushed by that massive pressure, the kid is forced down by the sheer power. Even with this sudden impact, he keeps his cool, making sure everything is fine. Wrapped in that monumental aura, he finally feels the ancient energy accepting him. Diving into a sea of uncertainty, he checks out the options he has left. In the middle of that intense light, the book starts revealing its secret truths. Surrounded by magic thorns, the woman loses her cool and screams in total frustration. Then, a flash of pure magic hits her as the thorns strike the target full force. Finally, he lets it all out, unleashing an incredible wave of magic energy. Beneath the blinding glow of Sacria, she loses her cool and screams in total desperation. Suddenly, clawed hands cover his face as dark fluid streams from his eyes. With a dead serious look, he points his hand and locks onto his target. High above the castle, a magical phenomenon lights up the night sky, leaving the king and his allies speechless. Just like that, a star-shaped magical barrage shatters every monster in sight. Razor-sharp crystal projectiles cut through the threats with pinpoint accuracy. Magic erupts, slamming into the monsters while the group watches frozen in place. And that's where it gets good. A massive spectral whale emerges from the sky, glowing in deep blue. Staring him down with pure contempt, he reaches out, promising to reveal everything Merrick left behind. Suddenly, the being gets snagged by thorny vines that pierce right through his chest. A spiral spell slices through the air, shocking everyone watching from up close. Moving with crazy speed, he conjures magic rings that slice the enemies to pieces. Ancient magic takes over the area, forming a colossal glowing circle. With total disdain, the opponent yells a humiliating remark at the guy. Under the intense magical light, he puts his hands together to start the chant. He immediately summons the ice crystal garden, unleashing a wave of frost. As the ice expands, the enemy finds himself trapped by thorny vines. No one saw that coming. A giant whale made of blue energy erupts from the frozen ground. The ice morphs into jagged shapes, creating a dangerous path for the trio. Mocking the whole situation, he shatters the ice with sharp thorns in his hand. Panicking, the villain screams in disbelief as his brute force fails to break the defense. Still unfazed, he keeps his cool and tells the guy his efforts are completely useless. Suddenly, the opponent channels intense freezing energy into his crystal-like hands. With a chilling stare and a clenched fist, the protagonist declares that it's all all over. Sharpening his focus, that glow in his eye reveals a bottled-up, ruthless rage. Enveloped by icy shards, the villain lets out a scream of pure frustration. And that's where it gets crazy. A massive creature emerges from the glow, leaving the enemy frozen in place. Raising his hand with poise, he conjures a magical barrier that shines brilliantly. Serene look and glowing eyes. He just whispers a sincere word of thanks. Lifting his grimoire to the sky, he releases a magic wave that lights up the whole courtyard. Taken by surprise, a young girl reacts as the blue light consumes everything around them. Spreading rapidly, the blue radiance leaves everyone completely speechless. Without warning, a magical shockwave explodes across the city, bathing the area in light. Just then, a white-bearded king appears, reaching out his hand in a sign of welcome. Fascinated, the young boy gazes at the spectacle as magic particles drift down. With his vision blurred by the particles, he reaches out as if to touch this new reality. Feeling the powers surge, he tries to grasp the ancient magic of the legendary beast. Meanwhile, a hooded figure watches the city from afar and writes off merit. He's also busy analyzing data on the pseudo-demonization to replicate the process. Hanging upside down from a branch, the conspirator claims his pawns are spread across the territory, now targeting the boy who controls the beast. Shadowy hands wrap around a crystal orb, plotting to send out a special pawn. Bowing in complete submission, the servant reaffirms that the plan is going exactly as the master wishes. Mounted on a dark steed, the cultist declares that only demons can restore the world. Rising from viscous darkness, a solemn voice announces the arrival of the 8-star pillar. As the human realm suffers the demon onslaught, friends try to shield the wounded apprentice from the chaos. Between sighs and complaints, the boy hears a jab about his scent and fires back. With rumors spreading in the blink of an eye, he hands something over to the group. Then he holds up a blue flower, and that's where it gets crazy. The crowd is totally stunned. Hearing his name called out, he snaps his head around in a sudden start. A voice echoes through the hallway shouting for him as he rushes inside. Just then, a bolt drops right nearby, making the kid jump in surprise. Standing at the door, the newcomer freezes at the massive pile of open books. He immediately asks, clearly annoyed, how anyone could possibly sleep in that mess. Acknowledging the hard work, he flashes a kind smile while praising his ally. Still dazed and half asleep, he mumbles for more stones while fumbling with the book. Hit by the shock of the news, the old dignitary freezes and gasps. What? Fed up with the silence, the king demands an answer about the title and the lands. With eyes wide in wonder, the monarch gazes at the tiny magical creature. And just like that, the creature's blue glow captivates even the most stubborn nobles in the room. As word gets out, the elite starts pouring donations into the tower. Turning around with a grin, the king preps a reward for the hero's deed. Keeping his cool, the master questions the king's strategy and turns the offer down. Resigned, the monarch accepts his choice and drops the need for extra guards. Staring intensely, the sovereign keeps his vibe totally imposing and serious. Giving a direct order, the king demands the kid be raised as a royal shield. Meanwhile, the old elder watches, his face looking tense and grim. Suddenly, the boy pushes back, ignoring the bossy tone to stand his ground. Standing by the window, the sage silently gazes out at the massive castle. And that's where it gets crazy, the little guy screams, refusing to be locked away. Right after, he points at a mountain of gifts, leaving the boy completely stunned. Surrounded by his own clones, the kid notices the mess all over his desk. Checking the pile of gifts, the guy realizes the hidden motives behind them. Breaking the mood, the dark-haired youth grabs the blonde boy's attention. Examining the rare item, the blonde quickly figures out where the gem came from. Super hyped about the find, the kid asks to test its pure power. Keeping a straight face, the old scholar confirms it with a simple nod. Now, he claims handling these attribute gems is basically a walk in the park. Respecting his friend's skills, the blonde praises him and hands the gem over. Reflecting on his own weaknesses, he knows he needs a power spike before the ritual in 2 years. Breaking the silence, the old instructor calls Alan out for some field training. Suddenly, 2 ancient grimoires drift into the air, revealing secrets about attributes and their origins. Triggering the complex enchantment, the veteran starts fusing the 2 gems. As emerald energy wraps around the student, the master declares he'll be his guide. Racing up the stairs, the girl summons a torrent of water against her isolated rival.